Douluo, my martial spirit is a system. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151, Proving Ground. Purgatory. The Lost Grand Canyon at night has a strange and gorgeous scenery. You stand below and look up. You can't see the depth of the sky in the distance because there is a strange and unpredictable fog blocking your eyes, which prevents you from seeing clearly the true appearance of this world. But the special brilliant starlight that appeared near the night passed through the fog and directly reflected on the ground. Every time this time came, people couldn't help but sigh with emotion. What a terrifying existence the mighty power of heaven and earth is. The weird mist that even ordinary titled Douluo couldn't break through was pierced directly under the starlight. I don't know if I should praise such power at this time or be afraid of whether I can catch up with such power. Question mark? Perhaps we'll have both. Under the dim light of the stars, several people sat cross-legged in front of the shimmering cave. The young man with blood-colored eyes at the head yawned boredly, looking very absent-minded. Some of the children below were clenched with little hands, and there were still a little bit of dinner broth stains on the corners of their mouths, while others lowered their heads and did not dare to look at the devilish guy above them. What should I do? What's the purpose? Hulina was fed up with the silence, so if she wanted to say something, she should say it quickly. What's the point of waiting dryly like this? Meditation during this period was the most tormenting thing for Hulina, and she didn't have any special feelings about meditation. Her teacher once told her before that only those who grow continuously in the battle can be regarded as strong. Ordinary meditation is just something that they choose when they are free. For a real strong, the real power, the best growth is to grow up in the uninterrupted battle. However, her own growth cannot be denied at all. During this period of time, her rapid growth was exactly like a dream. Whether it was the improvement of the level of spirit power or the absorption of such a level of spirit ring, it was an extremely dreamy thing. And from this point, it can be seen that Undead Douluo is very thorough about how to train a soul master and how to turn an ordinary soul master into a powerful person. If the best soul master lets Undead Douluo teach for a period of time, that soul master who has no achievements may also become a powerful fighting force. Terrifying power, almost demon-like wisdom, the analysis of each stage of soul master's cultivation, and the consumption of various cultivation resources. No matter how you look at it, what Undead Douluo possesses can even be compared with martial arts. The Soul Palace is comparable. I really don't know how long he has been accumulating. Ahem. Cough. Is everyone here? Immortal Douluo seemed to be in a moment of interest again, and he looked down at Fei and the others. Fei said slowly, "It's already here." Undead Douluo nodded and pointed to Gua beside him. "Okay, Gua, I'll do it for you next. Tell them about the training plan that I personally appointed for them. Let them appreciate it." "What is it?" "It is called the growth that a soul master must go through in the growth process." Gua seemed very reluctant, but he didn't have anything to do. He had to be careful in everything he did, otherwise he wouldn't know when he was put into the pot. Gua also stood on the stone beside him, imitating the appearance of Immortal Douluo, and put his hands behind his back, as if I'm Immortal Douluo now, and I'm the mentor who is here to teach you the next cultivation process, and at the same time it will also be the existence that brings you nightmares. What's the matter? First of all, let's talk about the things you 7 poor dolls need to do tomorrow and even the next period of time. It was the first time for Fei to see such a serious appearance of croaking, and he couldn't help being very interested in the so-called bloody training process. Suddenly, Gua spat out a mass of blue mist-like stuff, slowly forming a rough outline in the air, like a topographic map. Every place seemed to be they have all been marked, and it can be seen from a visual inspection of the range of this topographic map that the marked places are very large. Here, you can also see this illusion map very clearly, right? Gua pointed at the floating picture, and his tone was more or less excited. A map? Fei looked at the topographic map surrounded by azure blue, and it seemed that there were many fogs gathered around it. It seemed that the location depicted in this map was the Lost Grand Canyon, right? This is the trial site specially deployed by Greedy Dad these days for the few of you. The surrounding fog has been dispelled here, and the environmental scenes in it are also diverse and constantly changing. Moreover, Greedy Dad also specially eye-captured all kinds of spirit beasts of different types and races for you to use in trials. Of course, the number of years is not very high, the highest is only 5,000 years. Trial place. Changes in diversity? Soul beast. No more than 5,000 years. Fei and the others looked uglier than the other. They had already expected that they would practice non-stop for days and nights and were not allowed to sleep, but after hearing what Quack said, they suddenly realized that they were wrong. Wrong and outrageous, isn't it? Ziyu was a little excited. Immortal Douluo and Teacher Gu, is such a trial place too difficult for us? Although our overall strength has reached above the Great Soul Master, and the 6th brother and 7th sister has already become a 30th level existence, but if we are to face the 1,000-year-old soul beast, isn't it somewhat far-fetched? Fetched? Guagua shook his head. How could it be far-fetched? You have been at ease for so long, but you can't get any results from meditating all day long. This is undoubtedly your misunderstanding of tension. So, this time this trial is a real purgatory for you. Let you know that, if a soul master does not quickly show progress and success in cultivation, then this soul master will have no meaning in existence. This is just the beginning. The primary purgatory is just a 1,000-year-old soul beast. We are ready to put in 10,000-year soul beasts from time to time. Whether you can survive in the end depends on the combined efforts of the 7 of you. Cooperate, use all your strengths, and only those who can survive in such an environment can be regarded as a true soul master. End of this chapter. Chapter 152 questions. In the dark night, Fei also began to carefully measure the scene presented by the floating azure blue fog map. The area shown on this map is really huge. Fei never even imagined that there is such a large fog-free area in this Los Grand Canyon. The so-called fog-free area is a place not covered by fog. Of course, after so long in the Grand Canyon, the fog-free area that Fei really saw was the place where undead Douluo and Guagua were following. Only then will it appear around you. The rest of this fog-free area is mountains and lush forests, and there are many valleys connected vertically together, but just looking at such a floating and ethereal map can't really see anything. You can only take a rough look at the structure. As you can see, I have told you about the overall structure of the Los Grand Canyon trial site and the tasks you need to do after being transformed by Greedy Dad. Guagua paused, then continued, with a particularly dignified tone. If you really want to transform into a strong person, then try to survive within a week, of course. To prevent you from dying, I will give you every send this thing alone, as long as you inject soul power into it. When you encounter yourself out of control, or when you choose to give up, then you will leave this trial ground, and at the same time, you are not worthy to continue my next teaching. Go back wherever it came from. At this moment, Guagua is floating a token-like thing. The whole body is similar in size to the Lazy Realm token in Fei's hand, but it can be known from Guagua's words that the function of this token is not to comprehend anything, but a means of life-saving. This is not a joke. Fei could hear a firm tone from the croaking tone. Maybe it was exactly what it said. If you choose to give up and fail the 7-day training, you are doomed to be unworthy of being taught by it. Well, Teacher Gu, I want to ask a question. Ziyu seemed to have a lot of doubts about this trial. You said. Ziyu hesitated for a moment, then said, what is the purpose of this trial? Is it simply to get rid of some soul masters among us? We are obviously a group. If we lose one person. Fei shook his head helplessly when he heard this. There is no real integration between the soul master team. Everyone has their own goals in life and a process of experience, just like the saying that there is no banquet that never ends. And in the world of soul masters, the weak will not be pitied. Guagua said, really? What can you do if you lose a person? If you really don't want to lose anyone, then you should cooperate with each other and don't let anyone inject soul power into this token. After 7 days, my Greedy Dad and I will naturally recognize you. These few days of meditation must be able to see in your heart. For you, the greedy father is too indulgent. Although I feel very good about your respective choices and the process of helping you obtain the soul ring, but the choice it's only temporary. What I want is long-term strength improvement. Do you want to beg the other party to give you more options to survive when you are faced with a life and death decision? Every word and every sentence of Guagua is deeply imprinted in the hearts of Fei and the others. For them, this is not just a personal battle, but an ultimate battle for their team to work together and never give up. Can't anyone give up? Fei seemed to have figured out why Guagua and undead Douluo used such a trial place. Well, although he talks about protecting himself, in fact, Master Undead wants to see a truly united team more than anyone else, and some of his longings are mixed with it. It turned out that Yi Lanshan had noticed it very early on. Fei tried to respond to Yi Lanshan. Yeah, I had the same thought just now. After all, everyone has to go through their own life sooner or later, right? But I seem to be wrong. Not everyone can think about helping others all the time. Don't have any pressure. For us, it is still the most important thing to protect ourselves first. Of course Fei knew this. No one would be so stupid as to think of helping others, even when he was in danger. Everyone has selfishness, no one is an exception. But at this moment, except for Fei and Yi Lanshan, the faces of the few people are very bad. This proving ground is very dangerous. Each of them will experience life and death. And if one of them is not paying attention, what will happen if they are really in danger of life and death? Choose to give up. By the way, there is one more important thing I forgot to tell you. Guagua seemed to have unspoken rules, so he said slowly, did you see the 7 different entrances? The 7 of you did not walk together. Of course, this was only on the periphery. When the rest of you, the team trial will officially begin, when more people enter the inner ring. But how many people will choose to give up during this journey? If Guagua had an expression, then the current expression must be evil, and it is still the expression that deserves to be beaten as much as he wants. What? Hulina was a little surprised. Did I walk this distance alone? Then what should I do if I encounter a soul beast? Like a soul master who has no fighting power, wouldn't he be sentenced to give up immediately? Auxiliary department. The only auxiliary soul master in their team is Yi Lanshan. From their point of view, although Yi Lanshan has a soul power above level, how could it be possible for a soul master of the auxiliary system to fight directly against a soul beast? This is simply an invincible existence, right? Even encountering a 1000-year level soul beast is probably a difficult existence to solve. As a soul master of the control system, she didn't dare to assert that she would definitely pass. However, in this kind of single player trial, the strong attack type has a great advantage, as does the agility attack type, at least in terms of flexibility and aggressiveness. This type of soul master has a great advantage. Are you worried about the decline? Fei really wanted to tell Hulina that among this group of people, Yi Lanshan's fighting power was absolutely unrivaled, and even a combination of the 6 of them might not be able to defeat Yi Lanshan alone, although Fei was very strong. I don't want to say this. Guagua just stuck out his tongue dryly. He was a little bit speechless, actually worried about sister life. Don't be kidding. Her methods are terrible. If she is really purely regarded as an auxiliary system soul master, her life may really be in danger. End of this chapter. Chapter 153 questions. This is Immortal Douluo, who was standing behind, suddenly spoke up. It's more work for those who are capable. Since Lanshan is an auxiliary soul master and has no combat power, then she will go with Fei in the first level of personal trials. Of course, if you feel that you can face the 1000-year-old soul beast, if it is time to defeat the 1000-year-old soul beast and protect Lanshan, you can also bring it up. Fei looked at Ziyu and the others. He felt that someone would definitely bring it up, right? After all, Lanshan's auxiliary soul skills are too terrifying. Just one soul skill can add a level. This is like adding wings to a tiger. And this is only one of Yi Lanshan's 3 soul abilities. Even the few of them have not seen what kind of power Yi Lanshan's remaining 2 soul abilities possess. But when Fei actually went to see Ziyu and the others, they all had a strange look on their faces. Instead of going to see Yi Lanshan, they put it on Fei. Ziyu spoke suddenly and waved her hand. Forget about this, I can't take care of myself anymore. Although 7th sister is also very good, but I think the only one who can protect her is 6th brother. Come on 6th brother, we must fight with you. We meet. Hulina blinked and said playfully, that's right. We feel that we are not up to the task, alas. Although our strength has improved, it is still too difficult to face the 1000-year-old soul beast. Just ran away, which would have harmed 7th sister, but 6th brother is different. He is strong and thoughtful, and he is the most suitable for protecting 7th sister. Yan looked at Ziyu and Hulina strangely. He was a little puzzled. Kima's powerful support soul skills are obviously the best support for each of them, right? It can completely help us get through the personal trial perfectly. Zhu Jiangxing leaned towards Yan, and he whispered to Yan for a long time. When Yan raised his head again, he suddenly realized, that's right. We are all incapable. Our strength is too weak. Oops. It seems that I must pass this trial to quickly improve my strength. What? This one? Why doesn't Jifei know what these guys mean? But this is exactly what Jifei thinks. How about the decline? Going with Jifei, or do you choose to go your own way? After all, you are an auxiliary system soul master, and your combat effectiveness is not that strong. Gugu said while talking about the auxiliary system and those who are not strong in combat effectiveness. Clenched the words tightly. Yi Lanshan nodded. I can do it. But I still feel safe by Xiaofa's side. Wow. Hulina and Huorao hugged each other tightly, with starlight in their eyes. They looked very excited, and screamed from time to time. Jifei had a headache, and said to himself, Lanshan, can we be a little more tactful? Although I like it very much, you also. What's the matter? Didn't you often say that before? It feels safe to be by your side. Am I wrong? Yi Lanshan looked like I said the wrong thing, and then recalled what she said just now. Obviously they were all normal words. Where is there any inefficiency? Jifei said, okay, I know you're out of touch with the times, but it doesn't matter. You'll get to know it slowly in the future. I don't know why. Yi Lanshan simply answered 4 words. Ahem. It seems that you are not afraid of the danger of this trial, or do you simply treat it with the mood of watching a show? Guagua shook his head helplessly when he saw the children, who became excited in an instant. It seemed that just a simple incident could divert the attention of these children from the fear just now to happiness. Perhaps this is the joy of children. Our elders don't understand. Jifei said, Quack, what you said is wrong. No matter how fearful we are, there is no solution, right? And our goal is to become stronger. How could we aim to give up? Just like you, as I said, if you really want to become stronger, you really have to face life and death. I voluntarily give up the last resort to save lives and face life and death. Jifei is not exaggerating. He just feels that he knows that he has the absolute means of surviving. So is he really facing a life and death situation? If you don't really face the situation of life and death, can what you show be regarded as the power contained in it? I'll give up too. Yi Lanshan also said proactively. For her, following Jifei was the best choice. Facing life and death. The 6th brother is right. I will give up too. I want to truly face life and death. Failure is death. Ziyu stood up abruptly. He was not a guy who gave up blindly. He himself knew that only by facing life and death could he unleash real power. If he really had the means to save his life, it would just be a failure. A failure you can start all over again, but not the trial. Fail and die instantly. I also give up. As the 6th brother said, for me this is not a means of life saving, but something in the way. It will hinder my real strength, and it will kill my hope of pursuing life. Hulina was very firm. Said. Yan also nodded at the same time. Isn't it death? If you don't really become stronger, then it's no different from death. Although the strength of the two of us is not very strong, we also firmly believe that, as long as we are willing to stimulate our own potential, then we will be able to succeed. Quack was at a loss for words for a moment. It didn't know how to describe its mood at the moment. It has seen many people, as strong as a titled Douluo, as weak as a little soul master. The goal of all of them is to live tenaciously. Even if they pursue a small life, they will firmly grasp it. After all, that is their only chance to survive. But the group of children in front of me, do you really know about death? Undead Douluo asked suddenly. In the dark night, Undead Douluo looked very stern, as if he was completely different from the fun-loving Undead Douluo before. He has his own independent story, he shows his sharpness, he is proud, and he is the one who truly belongs to Undead. Greedy undefeated legend. However, when Undead Douluo asked him this question, everyone except Fei and Lanshan seemed to be stopped by the question, just as Undead Douluo said. Do they really know death? Can you really feel the feeling of death? After all, unlike Fei and Lanshan's purpose, maybe they did it on a whim, that's not certain. End of this chapter. Chapter 154 questions. The old man asked, do you really understand death? The cold words fell on them, and immortal Douluo stared at them with blood-colored eyes. It felt as if a group of them would turn into ashes, and dissipate in this world in an instant with a careless answer. Come on, this is definitely not a joke. Call. Immortal Douluo slowly stood on top of the boulder. He looked down at Fei and the others who were sitting cross-legged on the ground. After a moment of silence, he began to speak slowly. Death is cruel, and death is irreversible for soul masters. Maybe the old man can't feel the feeling of death, but the old man has seen many people before they die. That kind of pain, that kind of unwillingness, that kind of longing for life is too real and too real. What I hate most about myself is that I don't have the real power to protect my true love and let her die in the hands of the soul master. The other party is so weak. Obviously the other party is not even an ant in my eyes, but you feel helpless. Can you understand it? Undead Douluo's blood-colored eyes vaguely formed a layer of mist. Once upon a time, this old man was also a normal person with a lover and children by his side. If possible, who wouldn't want to live for a long time? That's it, to live by the side of your family. Even if you don't have this power, even if you don't have the ability to die. So, do you really understand death? Do you understand the true meaning of death? Fei and the others were stunned. There seemed to be tears in the corners of Undying Douluo's eyes. Undying Douluo actually cried. Death. Fei subconsciously clenched his hands, without any perception, being gradually forgotten and cherished by everyone in the world, until finally disappearing in the long river of history. Is this death? But, if I go through death, how can I really become stronger? With a means that can save my life, isn't it still a trial for jokes? So your choice? Immortal Douluo stared at Fei. No change. There will be no change. I believe that I will not die. Absolutely will not die. Release the soul beast as much as you want. I will not back down. I will never back down. Fei shouted loudly. How can you not know the pain of death? How could he not understand the despair when death comes? Re-engraving martial souls and soul beasts is the same point. After Fei completed the reenactment of Wuhan, it can be said that he had some ideological ties with the soul beast, but when that connection was severed by other people, and he watched the soul beast die in front of him, Fei recreated it. The soul of the soul will also have the pain of mourning, and that pain, the despair in the face of death, is infinitely magnified, and it is infinitely magnified in Fei's mind. This is Fei's secret, a secret he doesn't want to tell others. He delved into why the soul beast screamed when it died. Why did it also pray, and pray that it would not want to die? Obviously, Undead Douluo gave him a perfect answer, but so what? So are we. Ziyu and the others answered in unison, and each of them recalled the shock just now. Greedy father, don't say it. They have made up their minds, and it will be useless to state other things. And didn't you say that a long time ago? To her. If our child chooses a different path in the future, we must support her. Even if she is wrong, we just need to take responsibility for her. After all, we are her parents. Undead Douluo shook his head. Hey, you guys, it's just a simple means of saving your life, but you see it as a thorn in your side, that's all. I can't hold you back, you can do whatever you like. Tonight this is over. You all go back to your respective rooms, and gather early tomorrow morning, to go to the trial site. Remember, let me come back alive. I don't want to collect your corpses. After all, you also know that I have no money. If you die, who will cook for me? Who will create gold soul coins for me in the future? Then you still said that if you choose to give up, you should leave. Lanshan said lightly, and you, croaking, duplicity is not a good frog. I put you in the pot. Quack, quack. Seventh sister is so powerful? Hulina looked at Ji Lanshan, who was questioning undead Douluo and Guagua, and couldn't help but look at Ji Fei sympathetically. Oh, it seems that the sixth brother will suffer in the future. Then, Teacher Immortal, Teacher Boo, let's go back and get ready. One after another, they all returned to their respective caves. They were more or less looking forward to tomorrow's trial and battle, and more or less flustered. After all, at their age, they chose to face life and death head on. It was really uncomfortable easy. Ji Fei didn't leave. He still had something to ask about Guagua or undead Douluo. Similarly, Ji Lanshan didn't leave either. Mr. Immortal, since you are afraid of us dying, why do you put in 1,000-year or even 10,000-year soul beast? Compared with the so-called life-saving means, Ji Fei may value the soul beast itself more. After all, the source of death is the soul beast. Undead Douluo yawned. Quack, come and answer their questions. I'm sleepy, so go to bed first. It croaked twice, as if it was strongly resisting undead Douluo. Such an approach is unfair to it. Seeing the immortal Douluo leaving, Ji Fei also sighed. Sometimes undead Douluo is like this, and when he is reliable, there are also many times when he looks like a lifelike shopkeeper. Fortunately, there was Guagua here. Ji Fei felt that Guagua knew a lot more about Soul Master cultivation than undead Douluo. Okay, let me answer your question. Guagua turned around and said slowly, why don't you put in low-level soul beasts? This reason is also easy to explain. In such a big environment as the Lost Canyon, there are not many low-level soul beasts for you to try. Also, low-level soul beasts are often the most terrifying existence. Of course, the main reason is, if there are no powerful soul beasts, can it be called a trial? The essence of our trial is to let you know that you are far behind now, and there are other aspects the reason for departure, such as exercising your individual combat ability and team coordination ability. Of course, sister life is definitely an accident. Is that so? Ji Fei felt that it was normal. Without a powerful soul beast, it was impossible to achieve the purpose of training. If possible, can you tell me about undead Douluo? Greed about dad's business? End of this chapter. Chapter 155. Greedy Dad. Guagua looked at Ji Fei with some doubts. Why do you want to know about Greedy Dad? He doesn't have anything to say. After all, if he really talks about it in detail, he can't finish it in 3 days and 3 nights. Ji Fei said, then pick some important things and tell me about them. Guagua looked at Ji Lanshan. Ji Lanshan simply stood there, did not speak or make unnecessary movements. Perhaps it was acquiescence. Ji Fei's purpose is very simple, to understand undead Douluo, because undying Douluo actually shed tears just now. An existence that has survived for so long would cry because of something, and seeing undead Douluo's mood at that time, Ji Fei unexpectedly it feels strangely familiar. Guagua said in a strange tone, looking at you, you probably want to be greedy for dad and his wife, right? There seems to be nothing to say about this. Forget it, let me tell you roughly, but I won't go into too much detail. After all, I don't want to talk too much about the time with Greedy Dad. Ji Fei nodded. For him, how to understand the feeling is the most important thing. Greedy Dad has lived for a long time, you all know this, but I can't remember exactly how long. The first time I met Greedy Dad, he was already a famous existence in that era, and it is one of the best existences in the mainland, whether it is a hidden guy or an existence on the surface. It can be said that there is no one who can fight against the Greedy Dad, and he who owns the Greedy domain is also known as it is a body of disaster. Because the guys who are close to his greedy domain will become abnormal and become very greedy, arousing all the desires for occupation in their hearts, and it is precisely because of this that many people are in awe of the greedy father. Come back. The style of the entire continent has brought about a huge change because of the destruction of a power, and the Greedy Dad is one of the strongest in that power, and the Greedy Dad also bears the name of the curse. That is, Greedy Dad often mentions God's punishment. God's punishment, according to the different nature of each of them, if they touch the rules of God's punishment, then bad things will happen. As bad things happen, it's not right inflicting harm on oneself. After all, at the level of Greedy Dad and the others, even God's punishment cannot destroy them, but God's punishment will strike at the closest relatives. Fei seemed to have guessed the reason for the death of undying Douluo's lover. But regarding this inexplicable divine punishment, what is the specific limit of divine punishment, and why undead Douluo and the others would provoke divine punishment? They are deeply puzzled. It seems that there are not many people who are involved with this world. To be able to achieve such a powerful existence in that long time ago, they are more or less the kind of guys who are out of touch with the times, right? Greedy Dad took me to wander around the mainland after the power collapsed. At that time, Greedy Dad had nothing to worry about and didn't fear any divine punishment. Although I called Greedy Dad, we are actually friends. Relationship, if it comes to strength, hehe, I really don't have to be afraid of him. And when I was wandering in the mainland, the greedy domain of the Greedy Dad aroused the desires of the people around me all the time. There were plundering soul masters and other races everywhere in the streets and cities. At that time, the Greedy Dad returned this for fun, but then I met her and everything changed. Quack's mood also changed inexplicably. Fei seemed to be able to feel a blue halo gradually floating in the surrounding air, and the air suddenly became cold. This seemed to be caused by the change in Quack's mood of. Greedy Dad met a woman who seemed to me to be a domineering young lady, and later I heard Greedy Dad said that when the two of them met for the first time, it was more or less embarrassing. Embarrassing? Fei thought for a while, what kind of scene would it be if a man and a woman meet awkwardly for the first time? That's right, Greedy Dad just happened to see someone taking a bath. PFFT. Fei hurriedly turned his head to look at Ji Lanshan, but found that Ji Lanshan didn't seem to feel anything, just listening to Guagua's story about undead Douluo like an audience. The woman's methods are also very powerful, and the two of them fought together without any explanation. Unfortunately, how could she beat the greedy father? Fei was even more speechless. The tone of this bastard was as if I saw you taking a bath, and you still couldn't beat me. Are you angry? And after? Guagua thought for a while. Later? How would I know? Greedy Dad told me so far. Of course, I still know more or less the following things. First of all, Greedy Dad and that woman gave birth to a child. Little girl. They had a long time of good life between them. What about you? Where are you at this time? From Guagua's words, it can be known that these things were told by undead Douluo to Guagua later. Obviously there are many things that Guagua doesn't know. Guagua pointed to himself and said very distressed, I'm renovating here. The misty Grand Canyon didn't have these fogs. Originally, my greedy dad wanted me to make a warm home. Unfortunately, I seem to only will cause damage. Of course, as an aspiring frog, I must first protect myself. So I searched for treasures that can protect the area of the Lost Grand Canyon from various places, and then I found a kind of reminder. That is huge soul beast. It can spit out a kind of mist that makes people lose their minds, which is very good, so I brought it here, but after it evolved into a 10-year soul beast, it actually chose to change form. What a waste after my cultivation. I don't know what it looks like now, dead or alive. After all, that is the first guy who can talk to me for a long time, although he is very weak and talks a lot. Of course, for a long time afterwards, the greedy dad lived peacefully, guarding his wife and daughter on this continent. However, because of a sudden change, the entire continent was invaded by alien races. The aliens led the former soul beast race to subvert that complete world. All kinds of soul masters rose up to resist, but unfortunately there was no way. The foreign object was too powerful that day, and the flames of war affected the stable life of Greedy Dad. Greedy Dad always took a play-by-play attitude towards the battle between humans and soul beasts, but then for some reason, he bid farewell to his wife and daughter, and stood on the side of the soul master to start hunting souls without limit beast. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. The Great Change at that time was at least about 2 years after the destruction of the greedy father's power. At that time, there were no leading figures in the world of soul masters, and the scattered strengths were not things like sects. There are more guild type forces that issue missions to hunt and kill soul beasts, and at the same time resolve the so-called frontal conflict between soul masters and soul beasts. Guagua thought about it, and it seemed that it had really experienced the huge changes during that time. Okay, brother destroyer and sister life, let me ask you 2 questions. Which soul beast is the most powerful in the world? It's not a frog anyway. Yi Lanshan made such a remark unexpectedly. Fei wanted to laugh, but seeing that Guagua didn't seem to want to make a joke, he began to imagine, what kind of soul beast is the most powerful? Dragon? It should be a dragon. Compared with spirit beasts, although there are tigers as famous as dragons, how do you look at it? Among spirit beasts, tigers can't beat dragons, right? Fei thought about it. There are dragons in this world, right? Of course. What I said was based on my previous worldview. If there are no dragons in this world, then I really don't know. Quack was a little surprised. You actually know the existence of the Dragon Clan? Not bad. That's right. The most powerful soul beast is the Dragon Clan, and the era when the Dragon Clan really appeared can be traced back to that great change, and those so-called extraterrestrial objects are the Dragon Clan. The strength of the Dragon Clan is that they cannot become the soul rings of soul masters, and they have special attributes. Ordinary soul skills can't cause any damage to them at all. Moreover, according to the ranks of the Dragon Clan, the highest level of the Dragon God guides them, controlling everything, and the one who wants to occupy the entire continent is this Dragon God. Dragon God. Dragon Clan. Fei was stunned. So it was true, at least in such a world, there is also the existence of the Dragon Clan, and according to Guagua, the Dragon Clan really is the existence that almost subverted the entire continent. Then what happened later? Why can't I hear any legends about the Dragon Clan now? At least I've never heard of a dragon-like soul beast appearing, right? Not even in the Stardao Forest. Guagua said. Later, it was very simple. During the long-term battle between the Soul Masters and the Dragon Clan, there were differences among the Dragon Clan. Some people supported killing all the Soul Masters directly. This continent has completely become a paradise belonging to their Dragon Clan, and the soul beasts that originally fought for them have become new slave tools, and some Dragon Clan do not agree with this method. Teachers get along peacefully. After all, soul masters are all soul-loving beings. If there is a difference in this way, the war will be triggered again, and the 2 dragons who hold different ideas will have a dispute. Fei felt that this seemed inappropriate. According to Guagua, the Dragon Clan attacked this continent under the command of the Dragon God, right? Then they should have the Dragon God. Even if there is a disagreement, it should be the Dragon God to decide, right? What about the Dragon God? Since you have the Dragon God, shouldn't you leave such a huge difference to the Dragon God to decide? Fei is really more and more interested in this battle that he has never heard of before. How can the Dragon God see this kind of dispute? Its strength is enough to destroy all the dragons. You can see it as simply wanting to watch the show. After all, the dragons only choose the strong, and only the strong can survive. So this battle, which was originally a one-sided battle between soul masters against the Dragon Clan, has evolved into a battle between some friendly Dragon Clan leading the soul masters and another part of the Dragon Clan. But the Dragon Clan's fight against the Dragon Clan is just a lose-lose situation. A soul master is really as thin as paper in front of the Dragon Clan, vulnerable even if he is a titled Douluo in front of the Dragon Clan. Of course, the soul masters of that era were very poor in cultivation and soul skills and soul rings. I remember that titled Douluo caught a lot of them, and the 9th soul rings were all purple or black. After all, they had some man-made Douluo. The so-called man-made Douluo is a method of forcibly increasing the soul power by using special means. Presumably you can also guess what it is that can have such a rapid improvement in cultivation. Fei's expression became more and more strange. The evil god spring. Guagua nodded. That's right, it's the evil god spring. At that time, greedy dad and laziness had already joined forces, but the existence that can unite them is really not easy. After being promoted by the evil god spring, the soul masters who are almost able to fight from teenagers to 80s and s, all have the level of title Douluo, but because they rely on external objects to improve their level, it is said that they cannot absorb too high level soul ring, which leads to empty levels, but no combat power. But this is better than simply fighting against dragons at a dozen or levels, right? And at this time, the Dragon Slayer Soul Master appeared. The principle of Dragon Slayer Soul Master is that the Dragon Clan voluntarily dedicates their lives to the Soul Master and turns it into a soul ring. Of course, only those contras who really rely on their own cultivation and happen to be level 89 can obtain the soul ring dedicated by the Dragon Clan. Dragon Slayer Soul Master is powerful enough to fight against the Dragon Clan, but the price is that the Dragon Clan needs to dedicate their lives and turn it into a soul ring to give the Soul Master enough Dragon Slayer soul skills to kill the Dragon Clan, and all the strength of the Dragon Clan will also be blessed in the Dragon Slayer Soul Teacher's body. Fei was shocked. In this case, the combat power of the two sides seemed to be subverted in an instant, right? Guagua continued, there are not many soul masters left in that era who rely on their own cultivation to upgrade to the contra level, but at this time, Greedy Dad and Lazy stand out again. From the beginning to the end, people didn't see them make a move, but there was a steady stream of contrast from their subordinates, and these all came from the supernatural effects of the Lazy domain. Luo Soul Master, and then accept the soul ring donated by the Dragon Clan to become the Dragon Slayer Soul Master. The role of the laziness field is so significant, which is something Fei did not imagine. But after what Guagua said, Fei is more and more looking forward to what kind of power he will be able to exert after he truly controls the laziness field in the future stand up. But right now, Fei is becoming more and more interested in these unheard of battles between dragons and soul masters. Undead Douluo and Evil God Douluo used to be named Greedy and Lazy, but I don't know why. What caused them to call themselves Immortal, Evil God? End of this chapter. Chapter 157. Fei seemed to have thought of such a thing from the very beginning. Yes, changing times. How could an ordinary soul master live for such a long time? This is not realistic at all, and it is obvious that Undead Douluo did not obtain the immortality ability from this battle between the Dragon Clan and the Soul Master. It should have obtained it a long time ago. Guagua continued, the appearance of the Dragon Slayer Soul Master just happened to be a turning point in this war. Those hostile dragons were wiped out one after another, and those friendly dragons also died for offering their soul rings. But people have forgotten the real powerhouse of the Dragon Clan, the Dragon God. Dragon God's power is really unrivaled. It possesses the power to control the element. With its own power, it can wipe out most of the Dragon Slayer Soul Masters. When its huge body really descends on this land, when we were in the mainland, the Soul Masters suddenly found that there was no one in their camp that could fight with them. Dragon God. On the day of the decisive battle, the mighty Dragon God swept away all the Soul Masters by himself, and the Soul Masters died one after another. I don't know how many titled Douluo were slaughtered, and countless Soul Masters died. It was a disaster for the Soul Masters. Guagua recalled that scene, which was more or less shocking. Later, two people, Greedy Dad and Lazy, appeared, and they stood up when the Soul Masters were in a desperate mood. For Greedy Dad and Lazy, they were not afraid of any dragon gods, they were afraid the most important thing is divine punishment. It is real divine punishment. If they have no close relatives, they will naturally not be afraid of anything, and they can even defeat the Dragon Clan from the beginning when it descends, but they all have something to protect together. By the way, I haven't told you yet, the Greedy Dad's wife is the Lazy sister. This undead teacher seems to have said it himself before, but we just said it casually as a relationship between the two of them. Didn't expect it to be true. Fei was surprised by such a relationship. When the two met, it seemed like that. It seemed like an opponent with a bloody feud, but after a while, they became friendly again, and had a long chat. I don't know why Greedy Dad and Lazy would take action to destroy the Dragon Clan. If you say something about the righteousness of Soul Master survival, it is absolutely false, because I don't believe that the two of them have such an awe-inspiring temperament. But that's it. Greedy Dad and Lazy teamed up to seal the Dragon God. Because they have divine punishment, they can't kill the Dragon God. They can only seal it, but neither of them thought of it. The existence of the level of sealing the dragon god has also encountered divine punishment, but in my opinion, this divine punishment came more than 100,000 years late. What's going on? Fei continued to ask. Because the dragon god has been sealed away, and the remaining dragons have also turned to live in seclusion, this mighty battle between the soul masters, the dragons and the soul beasts has ended, and the greedy father and the lazy, the two of them also fell into a deep sleep, because they used their secret skills. This deep sleep doesn't matter, the divine punishment, that came 10 years late has really come down in the near future. What divine punishment? Fei felt that this might be the real answer to undead Douluo's tears. Do you remember the content of God's punishment? The so-called God's punishment is actually something similar to a curse. This curse will not have an effect on the cursed person, but will only affect the people around them, and this late God's punishment will fall on the wife of the greedy dad, who is also the lazy sister. She was killed by a soul master. Teacher Undead's wife has lived for so long, and she was killed by a soul master? It shouldn't be. Although it is normal for a soul master to kill a soul master, it is obvious. It seems a bit unreasonable. Fei was a little surprised. Suddenly, Yi Lanshan, who was at the side, said, Mr. Immortal's wife is a soul beast. Soul beast? Huh. Fei seemed to have subverted his worldview. Undead Douluo's wife is actually a soul beast. This is too unbelievable, right? Guagua also nodded. Back then, greedy dad and lazy helped human soul masters from being enslaved by the dragon clan. They sealed the dragon god, but also suffered divine punishment. Greedy dad's wife, lazy sister, was killed by a human soul master and became that person's soul ring, as well as a soul bone. As you all know, greedy dad's wife is also more than 10 years old. In recent years, soul masters are no longer in awe of soul beasts over 10 years old, but gradually regard them as the best choice for their own soul rings. Sure enough, in my opinion, the commander of the dragon god, the film world, may be the most correct choice. Fei was also a little moved. It turned out that undying Douluo still had such a past, and it was such an unforgettable past. Greedy dad hates me very much, and regrets why I chose to make a move in the first place. It has nothing to do with her. Why should she pay the price with her life? And at that time, greedy dad was still sleeping, and he didn't have anything to do with her at all. There is no way to save his wife and his daughter. Mr. Immortal's daughter is still alive. Maybe this is the last sustenance of Teacher Immortal? Fei shook his head sadly. Sure enough, everything in the world is unpredictable. So, do you now know why the greedy dad suddenly became angry? For you, survival is the most important thing, and getting stronger is just to add a means of survival. Guagua is also helpless about the past. I have been guarding greedy dad's side. If I brought the two of them into the Lost Canyon, then such a thing would not happen. I once thought of helping greedy dad to avenge, but he was stopped by the greedy father, because he was afraid. He was very afraid that revenge would lead to God's punishment and curse again. After all, he wanted his daughter to live a good life, even if he had no connection with him. Even if the two of them were very close, it's okay if we haven't recognized each other for thousands of years. What exactly is divine punishment? Is it possible to trigger divine punishment every time you kill a soul master? Guagua shook his head. I don't know the specifics, but it shouldn't be just killing a soul master will trigger the divine punishment. Maybe only the greedy dad knows. The current greedy father may only think about protecting his daughter secretly, so that she can live and grow up in peace, and nothing else matters. Revenge is actually a compliment to the opponent. I have investigated those guys secretly, but it is just a force that has only arisen in the past 1,000 years. However, I also want to relieve my greedy father, but I'm also afraid. After all, my relationship with greedy dad is too deep. End of this chapter. Chapter 158. The next day, the mist that gathers in the misty Grand Canyon in the morning is often the densest, and this denseness is gathered in front of your eyes, as if it wants to get into your eyes, and at the same time, this weird mist will really start to spread to you. Attack. This is a weird fog in the Lost Canyon. Fei and his group gathered very early, and they didn't even have breakfast. For them, as long as they use a little effort to mobilize their soul power, they can still eliminate their hunger. Fei couldn't help but have a deeper understanding of the meaning of life after listening to Guagua's story about undead Douluo last night. This deeper understanding is not simply fear of death or seeking death, but a simple feeling. Even if it is death, as long as it is meaningful, there will be no regrets. I didn't sleep well last night, alas. This trial is so difficult. Me too. How are you, seventh sister? Did you sleep well? And you must work harder today. We too don't worry about you anymore. Anyway, you have your Fei to protect you. That's right. When I went into the Devil's Forest with Giant Crossing and my sixth brother, there should have been a lot of soul beasts in the dense forest, but we didn't encounter any soul beasts until the end, when we passed through the Devil's Forest. Therefore, following the sixth brother will definitely reduce the number of soul beasts that appear, so we must seize this opportunity to communicate with the sixth brother. And the third sister and I are optimistic about you. What? Yi Lanshan, Hu Lina, and Hu Orao, the three of them got together and talked with each other as soon as they met. Looking at the three girls gathered together, Fei couldn't help but yawned and smiled secretly. It turns out that a proud personality like Lanshan would turn around and talk to others, but it's very good. Sixth brother. A few people from ZU also ran over quickly. It seemed that they got up in a hurry in the morning and didn't have time to take care of themselves. Everyone's hair was a little messy. The four boys in this group are very strange. Although they are not very old, none of them have short hair. Fei's lavender long hair tied together is definitely the most conspicuous among the crowd, and his exquisite face and restrained starry eyes give people a feeling of unattainable. ZU and the others also started to grow their long hair, and their short hair began to be tied up. I don't know whether it looks appropriate to see Fei's long hair tied up, or if they wanted to do this a long time ago. Sixth brother, you got up really early. Yang patted his neck, looking very tired. Zhu Jiangxing didn't wake up and patted his cheek as he walked. Sixth brother, good morning. Fei was also very helpless for this group of guys who had each of them a sixth brother. Although his soul was at least approaching 24 years old, his body was so old that, even if he was called a sixth brother, he felt helpless. Morning. Fei also said hello. If he woke up naturally, he should have been here at about the same time as ZU and the others. Originally, Fei was sleeping soundly, but Yi Lanshan suddenly threw off the quilt, and a gust of cold air invaded in an instant, and Fei got up helplessly. Fortunately, he was wearing clothes, otherwise he might not have caused some trouble. However, being awakened by such cold air in the morning, Fei seemed extraordinarily awake now, and even looked forward to this unknown trial even more. He himself had a feeling that the trial process between him and Yi Lanshan would definitely not be that simple. Let's go. Guagua was leading the team, and Undying Douluo hadn't woken up yet. According to Guagua, if Undying Douluo went to bed late, he would need to catch up on sleep during the day, and he would not wake up until almost noon. This is absolutely unheard of for soul masters. Maybe it looks like laziness to outsiders, but for undead Douluo, this may be the only way to suppress one's own power. It's exactly the same as the evil god Douluo. The rules were already told to you last night, so let me briefly state them now. It croaked into a large blue frog with a height of 5 or 6 meters, releasing terrifying power all over its body, dispelling all the fog around it, and what appeared in front of it was a road piled up with rocks and deadwood, which is like spring all the year round. There are also many perennial green trees in the Mizzen Grand Canyon, so it also constitutes a good place for soul beasts to hide. 7 days. Your trial this time is a total of 7 days. During these 7 days, you need to enter the meeting point through the personal trial path, and then the 7 of you will fight together to pass the final trial. Of course, the 7-person trial must be opened by 7 of you. Fei was taken aback. Doesn't this prove that, if one of us chooses to give up or is defeated, all of us will not be able to pass the test? Guagua nodded in front. That's right. Considering your determination last night, I temporarily added such a rule. Of course, the main purpose is to make you establish a determination to kill the soul beasts that you tried alone, and finally gather with your partners. If you are willing to use your current strength, you can completely defeat ordinary 1000-year-old soul beasts. Quickly kill the soul beast. Fei was taken aback. He was a little puzzled. Quack, are you a soul beast too? Why don't you seem to care about the soul beast's life and death, no matter whether it is hunting the soul beast or the soul beast battle last night in the current trial? Guagua stopped, turned his head slowly, and looked at Fei and Lanshan, who were right behind him, as well as Ziyu and the others behind him, who also had doubts on their faces. They really didn't expect this. Quack is a soul beast. Quack said slowly, the world of soul beasts has transformed the law of the jungle to the extreme. For soul beasts like us, that have lived for so long, there is no difference between soul masters and soul beasts. In the world of soul beasts, weak soul beasts, it is to obey the more advanced soul beasts. Even if the weak soul beasts die, they must obey unconditionally. After finishing speaking, Guagua continued on his way, leaving behind Fei and the others with bewildered faces. This seems to be a fallacy, but it is indeed a common kingly way among soul beasts that can't think. Let's go, don't worry about this anymore. For Guagua, standing shoulder to shoulder with ordinary spirit beasts is a complete insult to it. Lanshan looked at the fog that was gradually gathering and said to Fei slowly, it seems to be like this too. After all, Quack has lived for so long, and he is no longer at the same level as ordinary soul beasts. After finishing speaking, Fei gathered some strength under his feet, then rushed out with a fast stride and shouted at Ziyu and the others at the same time. Hurry up, otherwise the fog will gather. End of this chapter. Chapter 159. Chapter 159. Is this the trial path that the two of us need to enter? Fei looked at the huge forest surrounded by mist in front of him. Those almost towering trees were very similar to the trees in the Stardew forest, but what is more, in this misty Grand Canyon is not the sense of depth, but the real depressing and weird. Guagua brought them here in batches. According to Fei's observation, this huge trial ground is composed of 7 entrances, and then they gathered in the very center of the forest, after passing through their personal trial road, and then the 7 people walked out of the ultimate trial road at the other end. And Fei and Lanshan came to this last trial path. According to what Guagua said, since they are 2 people, it is necessary to prepare a trial path that is more difficult than other trials, otherwise the purpose of the trial path will not be achieved at all. Perhaps the difficulty of the original 6th trial path was not very high. After all, from Guagua's point of view, the combination of Fei and Lanshan is too powerful. If Sister Life is fully activated, the whole continent will probably tremble, right? Even if it is only slightly angry, its own vitality will disappear in an instant for more than 1,000 years. But fortunately, Sister Life's strength is not as strong as before, and she is still following Fei as an auxiliary system soul master, so there shouldn't be any huge and unpredictable changes. Guagua is suspended in the sky at this moment, clearing away the fog gathered in front of it. The trial ground of mastery is presented in front of its eyes, and it can see clearly what everyone is doing. As Douluo said yesterday, although they gave up the life-saving straw, that is, the token, no one wants to see their students die, right? So, Quack is also shouldering the role of salvation. Looking at the 7 roads, the length is the same, but the degree of danger inside is completely different. The more you go to the later trial road, the age, combat power and rarity of the soul beasts that will appear in it will increase step by step. Put Aura in the first trial path. Although her strength is very good at this age, as an agility attack system, the chasing wind and poison type soul beast prepared for her is the most suitable. For her, not only can she exercise her own speed, but she also needs to exercise when cutting into the timing, and I hope she can realize it in the battle. Guagua moved his eyes slightly and looked at the second trial path, which was also specially prepared by him. And it's still very hard to prepare. Put Zhujiangxing on the second trial road. There are no soul beasts with any special characteristics, but there is a forest of sword bamboos. If you want to pass through this forest of sword bamboos, you need to show your obsession with sword intent and your true spirit. The result of sword intent can only be passed after being tempered. Compared with direct combat, honing sword intent is the most important thing for Zhujiangxing. Sword intent promotes the development of sword martial soul, which is very important for Zhujiangxing in the future. It's really a huge benefit. The third trial path is Hulina. Although this little girl is not so amazing, her martial spirit can evolve. Although her current appearance can't make people fall into obsession at a glance, but with the it is only a matter of time before the evolution of the martial soul can be achieved, so the illusion type spirit beast is the best whetstone for her to hone her skills. The fourth trial way is Yan. Yan's martial soul is the Flame Lord, a very rare martial soul. For him in the assault department, controlling momentum and strength are the most important, so this has the name of Little Titan. The Earth Demon Bear in 1000 years is the best trial for him. I hope he can understand that the soul masters of the attack system do not necessarily have to rush forward blindly. The soul masters of the attack system also need flexible training. Only in this way can they flexibly control the situation of the battle. The fifth trial way is Ziyu. Ziyu's martial spirit makes me very entangled. He can be used as an agility attack type or a strong attack type. When it comes to some places that need to be changed, there is no feeling of abandonment and even a little timidity. This needs to be changed, so the small wave of soul beasts is the best training for him. I hope he can make himself clear through the uninterrupted tide of soul beasts in the past few days. Since he has such power, he must be able to do it with ease. The seventh trial way is to destroy brother and sister life. Brother Destroy is also a sad guy, and sister life has suffered. He has always been with such a guy who is dying, but I'm more interestingly, when will the two of them have a baby? Guagua calmed down. For this kind of nearly perfect combination, only a large number of high-level soul beasts can be sent to achieve the purpose of the trial, and even let the seventh trial road directly border the Mizandeo the canyon. Only then can the intended purpose be achieved. Work hard and carry forward the world of soul masters that your ancestors created for you with all your strength. For you group of dolls, touching the true meaning of this world is the cruelest. Perhaps following the path of brother destroyer and sister life by my side, you 5 dolls can still get good protection. But unfortunately, if it is true as what the greedy father said, if the awakened crown of destruction really has such power, maybe this will be another troubled world. Good luck kids. Guagua's gaze was always watching every move of G-Fei and the others below, and it could even see a small movement very clearly. The power of destruction is really a bad synonym, but it is undeniable that the most powerful existence standing in the world, and the existence stronger than the gods of the gods is nothing but the embodiment of their will. What a pity. What a pity. Igu Yuentian has never seen this peak. If I have seen the peak, then will I not be reduced to a frog at the bottom of the well? My sad brother, do you really think that the dragon god is the invincible Zunzei? You are a mere god. You must be very angry when you are sealed. But soon, this world is about to usher in 2 people who are dedicated to breaking the existence of the curse. Quack seemed very excited, and it's originally not, so Clearface became a little ferocious. At this moment, it seemed to be filled with a powerful and incomparable power, and it only needed one thought, and this power instantly can be released. The figure slowly disappeared into the sky, and Guagua seemed to have fallen into the 6th passage. Perhaps it needed to release the power it had just gathered. End of this chapter. Chapter 160. The speed of this movement is really fast. Huo Rao is now in the form of martial soul possessed, with conspicuous flames whistling non-stop, and the surrounding soul power is very strong, so she can really vent the mutant fire leopard martial soul within the range she can bear the power of. At this moment, in front of Huo Rao's eyes, a big black mouse about 3 meters long revolved around Huo Rao, and the silhouettes left, after passing through the air were intermittent after images passing through the air. Its real body had long been I don't know which after image I caught up with. This is a 900-year-old rotting mouse. The rotten mouse has extreme speed. When being chased and killed by some high-level soul beasts, the rotten mouse can rely on its own weird and unpredictable speed to quickly escape from the pursuit. And when chasing prey by itself, such extreme speed also brought inexplicable benefits to the rotten rat. As soon as Huo Rao entered this trial path, she met this rotten rat. The purpose of this rotting rat seems to be to kill Huo Rao's food, but it is more or less afraid because it feels the rage and terror of the flame from Huo Rao, so it must be with Huo Rao in a real battle of attrition. It only needs to rely on its own extreme speed to wipe out Huo Rao's soul power and patience, so it is not afraid that Huo Rao will not release its true power. And when Huo Rao's real killer move was released, his soul power was gone, so what fighting power did he have? So it is easy to solve it. These are rotting rats with a little IQ. They will not mindlessly fight some soul masters and soul beasts that make them afraid, because it is not worth it. Do you want to consume me? It's ridiculous. Or you think I'm still the same as before? Huorao is still very clear about her own shortcomings, and undying Douluo often talked to her about this before. The flame possessed by her fire leopard martial soul is a very special flame with a mutated attribute. To a scorching and terrifying degree, it is not even weaker than the special flame released by Yan's Flame Lord. But her fire leopard spirit has a disadvantage that an agility type spirit should not have. That is, the consumption is extremely fast, and the speed of loss of soul power is even similar to that of an attack type soul master. This can be said to be a limit to her speed. Although she can burst out at a very fast speed, she has no sensitivity. The kind of protracted battle of the attack system. For a while, she really wanted to fight as an attack type soul master, but after several attempts, she seemed to feel that she had chosen the wrong route. If she is really fighting as an assault type soul master, her mutated fire leopard martial soul still has disadvantages. That is, their aggressiveness is not as strong as that of a real assault system soul master. This is the disadvantage of limitation. Compared with Ziyu, Ziyu has extreme speed and can use her martial soul as a powerful attack method. Compared with Yan, as a genuine assault type soul master, doesn't need the agility type to achieve the speed, and the flame consumption released by his martial soul, Flame Lord, is not too obvious. Perhaps in her opinion, this is the characteristic that a fire attribute martial soul should have. In contrast, her fire leopard martial soul seems to have both points, and the speed is extremely fast, but the disadvantage is that it consumes its own soul. The power is too fast, although the flame attack power is strong, but its own soul power is also consumed extremely fast. Teacher Undead also told me before that what I need to take care of is the consumption of my own soul power. As long as I can perfectly solve this shortcoming, I can change it at will, whether it is the agility attack system or the strong attack system. Is it a multi-element soul master? Huorao, who was covered in scorching flames, looked at the rotting rats that drew after images, and suddenly smiled. Okay, since that's the case, then I'll take a look. How fast is my ultimate speed? On the contrary, I will suppress the output of my soul power. Be careful, little mouse. Let you see how terrifying a rational fire leopard is. The second trial path. It hurts. It hurts. The feeling of being cut by a real sword mark. Zhu Jiangxing was standing in a group of dense bamboo forests at this moment. His martial soul was suspended above his head, and the 2 rounds of soul rings slowly released a faint halo, as if even they had suffered an unprecedented blow. He originally expected that he would start a close-range battle with a large number of soul beasts. This is definitely the time for his flying sword martial soul to show its skills. He also firmly believes that in the face of soul beasts, he can definitely break them with a single sword. But as soon as he entered it, he realized that he was completely wrong. I was so wrong. The sword bamboos lined up began to vent their sword intent crazily as soon as he entered, and invisible sword marks slashed across his body fiercely. The real pain was also the wound on the skin and the wound on the wound. The blood flowing out. These are real feelings, without the slightest illusion. I must find a solution quickly. If I don't find a solution as soon as possible, I may be severely torn apart by the proud sword intent today. Zhu Jiangxing showed a rare serious look. The second round of soul ring behind him suddenly flashed, and as soon as the dark yellow soul ring lit up, the flying sword martial soul that was floating above his head suddenly landed on him hands. He opened his hand and tightly held the flying sword in his hand. The sword body shone with a brilliant light. In an instant, the sword intent emanating from Zhu Jiangxing's body collided with the sword intent erupting from a large group of sword bamboos. When they meet together, the power released by the crossing of the two has surpassed the confrontation between soul powers, and has evolved into a battle of wills. At this moment, Zhu Jiangxing seemed to recall the words undead Douluo once told him. Since you are a sword soul master, then spread your sword intent and use your sword intent as your only belief in living. Don't think about how powerful the other party is. What you should think about is how can you be yourself? Can be stronger than the opponent. There was a smile on the corner of Zhu Jiangxing's mouth. Mr. Immortal, I finally understand what you said. Although the sword intent combined by sword and bamboo is strong, I'm not weak. Since I can't completely defeat them, then I will come and integrate them, learn this kind of sword intent, and then use this kind of sword intent to completely defeat them. As soon as the flying sword was loosened, Zhu Jiangxing endured the severe pain. Looking at the splashed blood, he was not afraid at all, but continued to walk forward, clenching his teeth tightly, and feeling the rush of waves coming from all around him. A splitting sword intent. And it can be clearly seen from the side that with Zhu Jiangxing's forward steps, the sword intent emanating from the splitting sword bamboo is continuously pouring into his body. End of this chapter. Chapter 161 Metamorphosis. Both Huo Rao and Zhu Jiangxing quickly found the meaning of their trials. Facing the extreme speed of the rotten rat, what Huo Rao needs to do is to control the output node of his soul power, absolutely not wasting any soul power. For a soul master with a mutated spirit like her, this matter is very difficult, very difficult. Although her soul power surpasses the ordinary agility attack system, it is still not up to the aura that a force attack system soul master should have. So she had to overcome this difficulty, and encountering a soul beast like Rotten Rat, which can restrain opponents with extreme speed, is definitely a good training for Huo Rao. And remember, from the very beginning, this rotting rat was only interested in catching prey. If Huo Rao really used up all of her soul power in this first trial, then Huo Rao would face real death. After all, Rotten Rat is really hungry now. At this moment, in the first trial path, a gorgeous flame and a black shadow are running one after another, and chasing after them frantically. The rhythm is very obvious, and there is not much momentum. It seems that this battle it will take a long time to end. It is even possible that this century-old rotting rat is what Huo Rao needs to solve in his personal trials. The second trial path belongs to Zhu Jiangxing. Not only in Dead Douluo, even Guagua specially designated the trial process for Zhu Jiangxing to hone his own sword intent. Zhu Jiangxing is different from Fei and others. Simply speaking, from the point of view of martial arts, Fei's own martial arts can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need to be proficient in all kinds of martial arts. He only needs to hone his overall view. Naturally, it is to release the ability to control and command the team during the battle. And Zhu Jiangxing's sword type martial soul is very special. If you just treat it as a pure martial soul, you may not be able to release its true power as you wish. This is a process of continuous training and tempering. If he really wants to connect the sword martial soul to the realm of doing whatever he wants, Zhu Jiangxing really needs to kill a lot of time. For a child like him who is only 7 or 8 years old, this is really an extremely difficult and boring process. Forging Xingxing may be the most suitable trial for Zhu Jiangxing. It is normal for two people to choose the method, but what they lack may be a gradual trial process. Here it is. Hulina stared at the illusory yet realistic scene in front of her. Her heart trembled suddenly. How could this scene appear? How is it possible? Dilapidated villages, burning houses, fierce flames rushing directly into the clouds, the dead silence around, and blood splashed on the ground. She looked at the dozen or so children who were driven into the center of the square. 3 of them crowded together intentionally, and there were quite a few masked people all around, appreciating with satisfaction the truly great masterpiece they had just created. Boss, what should we do? Before those guys from Wuhandian came to this village, should we start blood training directly? All the children from this village are gathered here, and there are 15 of them, enough for us to finish it. The blood is refined. Several masked people gathered together, standing in front of the group of children curled up on the ground, talking excitedly about something. Hulina just stood there watching. Yes, just watching like this. She looked at a poor, dirty little girl curled up between 2 little boys. There was no doubt that the little girl was her. And the 2 little dolls beside her are Ziyu and Yan. And she will never forget the scene presented in front of her. Absolutely, never. She, Ziyu, and Yan were originally just children in an ordinary small village, but suddenly one day, a group of soul masters broke into their village, killed all the people in the village, and killed all the people in the village who had not yet awakened. The children of Wuhan all gathered together, and Hulina, Ziyu, and Yan were also among them. Maybe Ziyu and Yan had already walked out of that terrifying environment, but she, Hulina, couldn't. That horrible scene always echoed in her heart. In her mind, the rest of her mood was completely transformed despair. Well, for blood refining, we can't miss this good opportunity. The masked man moved very nimbly, with a ferocious smile. He grabbed her child and walked to a pre-dug hole in an instant, and then the masked man threw the crying child into the hole in. A mass of crimson flames was then thrown into the pit, accompanied by crying. A so-called blood training kicked off. Hulina suddenly collapsed on the ground, tears streaming out of her eyes instantly. She yelled hoarsely, "Stop." Unfortunately, she can only see the scene in front of her as an outsider. Just like she did back then. The same powerlessness, the same cowardice to the extreme. The scene is changing at a very high speed, and the surrounding scenes seem to be distorted at a very high speed soon. The masked man walked slowly to Hulina when he was a child. Looking at the dirty little girl, the masked man hesitated for a moment, took out a piece of cloth from his bosom, and wrapped it around his hand, then stretched out his hand ready to grab Hulina. Hulina was terrified to the extreme. Whether it was the little Hulina in the illusion, or Hulina who was collapsed on the ground at this moment, both of them were very frightened and resisted. Little Hulina kept backing back and forth, trying to hide, but it didn't work. The masked man just followed her. Suddenly, a little boy blocked Hulina behind. It's Yan. It was Yan who was curled up beside her. He directly blocked Hulina's side, and his eyes against the flames had a rare determination that a child could not have. The masked man was also obviously taken aback, but he looked at this innocent looking kid, and then at the dirty little Hulina behind him. Then, the masked man grabbed Yan, and walked towards the still burning fire pit. Little Hulina and Hulina roared together. No. This is the beginning of the devil. She will never forget this scene. The last critical moment was her. It was her. It was she who held Ziyu and Yan tightly. But why? She kept asking why it wasn't her brother who stood up, but a person she usually hated. Where is Yan? Seeing Yan being thrown directly into the flames, at that moment, little Hulina and Hulina were extremely desperate. End of this chapter. Chapter 162 Metamorphosis. The third trial path. Guagua hovered above the clouds and looked at Hulina who had collapsed on the ground and shook his head helplessly. It turns out that these three dolls are also poor people. Although the trial path prepared for Hulina is more about overcoming than fighting, overcoming the fear of illusions. For Hulina, perhaps what she needs to improve most is not strength and combat power, but this kind of ability to control her will develop to the extreme change. And in the third trial path is a nightmare beast that specially transforms the scenes that people or soul masters are least willing to recall and fear most. This nightmare beast is very rare and unique, but it is a millennium type soul beast. If it were a century-old soul beast, Quack would not have chosen the two-tailed demon fox as Hulina's second soul ring. He just took this nightmare beast as the best choice. And the nightmare beast itself does not have any special combat power. The most difficult and terrifying thing is the use of illusion point. Ordinary soul masters would easily collapse in this illusion. After all, no one wants to experience the kind of thing that is unwilling to recall to death for a second time. This is actually a very difficult thing. You can tell by the painful expression of Hulina who is curled up on the ground in front of her. This has been her nightmare all along. Although she is only 10 years old, she has never forgotten the pain and despair she has experienced. The scenes changed rapidly, but every time it changed, it was a scene of parting and pain. Looking at the embarrassed Hulina, Guagua also sighed. The tempering of the fantasy world is a must for a soul master like Hulina, and she must overcome all the fears in her heart. It's a pity that Yan didn't die back then, and those people were also killed by the guys from the spirit hall. It was resolved, and now Hulina is left with nothing but fear, and no desire for revenge. Guagua shook his head helplessly. It seems that Hulina has failed. There is no way. Maybe this kind of pain is really completely insurmountable for her in her whole life. Lost hope. Guagua didn't say it in such a specific way, and it didn't directly bring Hulina out. For Guagua himself, this has not yet reached the critical point. It felt that Hulina should be able to overcome such pain. His gaze shifted to Hulina's body in an instant. Hulina's hazy, red and swollen eyes simply closed. From her point of view, as long as she closed her eyes, it was enough. Just like at that time, as long as she closed her eyes, everything would be over. Hulina. Suddenly, an extremely piercing and majestic voice exploded in Hulina's ears. Hulina suddenly opened her eyes, and she looked at the scene that appeared in the illusion. It was a fuzzy and luxurious woman standing in front of her at this moment. Although she couldn't see the woman's real appearance, Hulina trembled. "Your Majesty, Your Majesty, no, Master, save me, I don't want to go through it, I don't want to go through it again, such a thing, please, help me." That illusory figure took many steps forward exquisitely. It turned out that this was also an illusion, and it was little Hulina who was kneeling in front of Hulina at this moment, and Hulina lowered her head in fear, not daring to look at the luxurious woman in front of her. "Do you know why I saved you?" The luxurious woman continued to question the little Hulina who was kneeling on the ground in front of her. Little Hulina didn't speak, just trembling with fear. "Is it something that scares you every day? Is it what keeps you silent every day? Could it be that it makes you afraid of everything about a soul master? I'm also a soul master. Don't you want to be afraid of me? Hulina, answer me." The voice of absolute strength came into Hulina's ears word by word, and she raised her head with great difficulty, but only slightly. She still didn't dare to look directly at the vaguely luxurious woman in front of her. The luxurious woman continued, "Are you going to be so decadent? If that's the case, I'm sorry, I regret saving you. It's really sad for Yan, who actually saved such a useless person like you. The price of your body being burned by flames saved such a waste like you. It's really embarrassing." Little Hulina's body shook. She raised her head suddenly, and suddenly roared in a weak voice, "I'm also very afraid of death." The luxurious woman suddenly squatted down, but she still couldn't see her blurred face clearly, but could hear her gentle voice. Because of the separation of the illusion, the luxurious woman's hand just ended up falling on the head of Hulina, who was lying on the ground at this very moment. The luxurious woman said softly, "Nana, are you still afraid of death? If you are, then make sure of a belief, faith." Little Hulina raised her head. Her tearful eyes were blurred to the extreme. The luxurious woman raised her hand to wipe away the tears from little Hulina's eyes and continued, "Be stronger. Keep getting stronger. Put an end to all unfavorable factors. Protect your brother well. Protect Yan well. You can do it. Don't you want to? Did Yan get hurt? The feeling that life is worse than death. Do you want to lose your only brother? Be stronger. Overcome all difficulties and obstacles. Don't be afraid of the past. You have to remember, the road ahead is long. You need to do. You still have a lot to change. You are my disciple of Bibidong. You can only be stronger. No cry. Even if it is painful, you have to hold back and digest it slowly." Who said women are not as good as men? Little Hulina stood up suddenly. Hulina, who had collapsed on the ground, also stood up, almost simultaneously. Hulina wiped away her tears. She smiled. The smile was miserable, but the feeling was so cheerful and comforting. "Teacher, I understand." Hulina's spirit possessed her body, and the two spirit rings complemented each other. Suddenly, the original tail of a demon fox behind Hulina split, and gradually, two solid tails appeared perfectly, and the two dazzling soul rings suddenly became more dazzling, and the brilliance emitted by the soul ring pierced through in an instant all the surroundings. All the illusions were defeated, and at the same time, the second dark soul ring on Hulina's body emitted light. In an instant, a larger shadow covered the past like this towards the distance. Suddenly, a sharp scream resounded in the dense forest. If I heard correctly, it was definitely the scream of a soul beast. Hulina heard the screams and suddenly cried again, but this time the tears that flowed were not tears of sadness, but tears of happiness, tears of joy. "Master, I really proved myself. I really proved myself. Maybe this is the original heart I need to abide by." End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, Metamorphosis. Not bad. Guagua had already turned his attention to the fourth trial road to watch the battle of Yan's soul beast tide, but his attention was once again drawn away by the sudden sharp scream of the soul beast. It is also considered a soul beast, so it naturally knows what the sharp scream of the soul beast just now means. I saw that Ulina released a more powerful illusion in an instant, causing the nightmare beast to fall into madness. Well, yes, such a terrifying power erupted in an instant. The illusion released by the second soul ring is actually it will be able to suppress the illusion released by the 1000-year-old soul beast, and if it is successful, it will be the highest guiding light for her future cultivation. Guagua thought for a while, what else will change in the future? Isn't it a bit simple? Although there are still many soul beasts behind, basically as long as Ulina releases such a soul skill, those mere 100-year level soul beasts in the situation, well isn't it just a momentary escape? No, it seems that we have to be more ruthless. After finishing speaking, he disappeared into the clouds again, and rushed towards the bottom at a very fast speed. For Guagua, it is also necessary to properly adjust the difficulty of the trial. After all, if it is really so simple to beat the last soul beast, and pass the level, there is really not much growth, which is also an abnormal interpretation of the real purpose of the trial. Of course Guagua will not let such a thing happening. A real trial then we have to be improvised. Ulina, who was in the third trial path below, felt relaxed. Perhaps the most painful thing had now officially become the source of motivation for her continuous growth. Yan, I will definitely repay your kindness. Come on. Ha ha ha. Come and die. Soul beasts of 10 or 100 years must die under my flames. The fourth trial path. Yan waved a huge flaming fist in his hand, and there were corpses of soul beasts piled up all around. Anyone who saw this scene would definitely know that this must be Yan's masterpiece. Soul beast tide. This is the trial Guagua prepared for Yan. From Guagua's point of view, what Yan most needs to change is to constantly enhance his aura. Only by strengthening his aura can he achieve the real strength of the assault system. Ordinary assault systems are best at single body explosions, that is, to quickly eliminate the opponent's core force in an instant. To achieve this, as long as the team's control system Soul Master or agility attack system Soul Beast conducts after the interference, the attack system Soul Master can easily do it. But this is just an explosion of pure personal power. Does the assault system really exist as a type of one-on-one invincibility? Obviously not. What Guagua understands, or it belongs to the era of Guagua, there is no division of soul masters, but what type of soul skills they are good at, there can be many, or they can be separated. Some soul masters choose a variety of soul rings when absorbing them. However, the soul masters of that era were magnificent and unique, and their relationship with soul beasts had been very harmonious since before the war. After all, in that era, soul beasts were not the only choice for soul rings. And what made Guagua feel that, although the current team type soul masters are simple, they are far from enough. Obviously, a system. As we all know, the Soul Master team is composed of more than 7 Soul Masters, which must be gathered together. One of the control type, one of the attack type, one of the agility attack type, and one of the auxiliary type. This is the most basic, and on this basis, it is possible to add more control systems, more powerful attack systems, and more sensitive attack systems. But with the increase of the system, the number of Soul Masters needs to increase. If you want to protect yourself during the battle, the necessary combat power is the most important, and even the Soul Masters of the auxiliary system need to have special life-saving means before they can enter the battle. And Soul Masters who want to assist the type to obtain combat type soul skills obviously need to start with the Soul Ring. Although it seems a little bit of putting the cart before the horse now, in that long time ago, this was the reason why every Soul Master could fight. Guagua felt emotional when he saw Yan's demeanor. If Yan was in the same era as me, he would definitely be a very powerful Soul Master, but now many restrictions hinder his development. If he had joined our former guild, maybe we would have been much more relaxed. At least we would not have to look for a Soul Master who has accumulated momentum so quickly. Guagua continued, Guild. What a nostalgic vocabulary. The feeling of the Soul Master Guild is wonderful. Everyone is a relative and a family member. There is no barrier. It is better than the current sect's intrigue. How much better it is. Why are there more and more damned soul beasts? Yan's brows suddenly frowned. The hearty battle just now made him more or less self-forgetful, but there are really more and more soul beasts gathered around now, and more century-old soul beasts are mixed among them. This is not a good omen for him. After all, these spirit beasts blocked his way forward. If he wanted to pass this trial, he had to kill all the spirit beasts that kept rushing towards him. But why are there more and more soul beasts? It seems that it is impossible to kill. While Yan was still fighting there, Guagua smiled with satisfaction, seeing the piled up corpses and the floating 10-year level and century level spirit rings. Soul beasts have such a tendency bloody. It's no wonder you don't gather all the soul beasts with your more or less such strong blood energy. But these soul beasts are also fixed, and now they all come here at once, as long as you can persist. Then the next trial road you will walk will be much easier. But it's not just a matter of time if these nearly crazy soul beasts want to be completely eliminated. Guagua set his sights on the 5th trial path. Ziyu was still walking. She seemed to be very at ease. She just hummed a little song and then skipped back and forth directly through this trial path. When everyone else has already started to fight hard or is about to complete the trial, Ziyu is definitely the most comfortable. But that's all for a while. Guagua said, easiness is only temporary. How easy you are now, you will be so hard in a while. Ziyu, come and meet the trial I prepared for you. You have never seen a soul beast before. Trial. Come and really prove whether you have that kind of value. End of this chapter. Chapter 164 Customs Clearance Method. Could it be that Mr. Gu forgot to prepare me for a trial? Or is it that the trial path I'm taking doesn't have a soul beast? Then this relationship is really good. You can pass the level without any effort. I don't know what happened to the others. I hope you can pass it safely. After all, none of the 7 of us can be missing. Ziyu was walking on the trial path of thin mist, surrounded by cluttered trees with towering heights, and the surrounding environment seemed normal for a place like the misty Grand Canyon, and there was nothing special to pay attention to. His perception is very powerful, which is derived from the special power of his own Wuhanziyu blade. In fact, he has never told other people that he can't use it normally, and this ability will only affect people who are hidden in the world. The guys in the dark take effect, so it is completely unusable in general. Hearing the faint roar of the soul beast on the side of the trial path, Ziyu was obviously eager to try, but it can be said that he has not found any clues about his trial, which is very strange. According to what Teacher Undead and Teacher Guagua said, everyone will encounter their own trials. That is to say, the trials of everyone present are different. So what kind of trials will I face? Ziyu shook her head. Hurry up. Maybe the trial is waiting for me ahead. Even if it is not waiting for me, then I can pass the personal trial directly. Roar. Suddenly, Ziyu felt a powerful soul power originating from the dense forest. Accompanied by the roar of a soul beast, the surrounding woods and even the ground began to tremble. This kind of trembling was trembling step by step. The faster the beast walks, the faster it shakes the ground. Ziyu's gaze changed slightly, and she turned towards her left-hand side. He had already found the other party, that is, the trace of the soul beast, but just as soon as she turned around, Ziyu's originally calm face changed drastically. He couldn't believe his eyes a little, and even felt that what he saw was an illusion. In front of me is a huge tortoise. The special dark brown color of the whole body is like a walking hill, and the height is at least 2 meters. The towering on the tortoise shell is actually a small hill. It holds its head up roaring again and again. It seemed that they were excited because they found Ziyu. 1000-year soul beast. Land tortoise. 1000-year land tortoise. I can't believe it. Ziyu wants to completely take back her previous thoughts. This trial for herself is really hardening herself, right? No, even play yourself to death. All I have encountered are 1000-year level soul beasts. I don't know what kind of soul beasts the 6th brother and 7th sister will encounter. I dare not imagine. Could it be 2000-year level soul beasts? Then the others what about? Are they all fighting spirit beasts? Ziyu couldn't think so much. Although the land turtle was so big and scary, it moved extremely fast. It galloped towards Ziyu at a very high speed. I thought it was too tall for such a tall figure. It's normal to not take Ziyu seriously. Unfortunately, things always backfire. Ziyu suddenly jumped aside, feeling the huge impact from the land turtle in front of him. He even once suspected that the land turtle had reached the level of 2000 years. The land turtle had a precise target, and that was Ziyu himself. Seeing Ziyu jump to the other side, He pulled it up in an instant, and the huge feet fell down in an instant, and the fallen ground instantly shook the surrounding trees. All broken. The broken tree fell down in an instant. Ziyu turned her back to look, and immediately started running for her life again. Yes, for him. He was running for his life at this moment. But in the process of fleeing for his life, he wanted to find out if the land turtle had any weaknesses. As long as I can grasp the weakness of this land turtle, it shouldn't be a problem to defeat it. His current soul power is not comparable to before, and the soul skills he obtained after obtaining the second soul ring can also make him no longer fighting alone. No. Boom. Ziyu jumped again and again. The land where the land turtle stepped on fell, and all the surrounding trees fell. Fortunately, when Quagwa designed this trial road, he considered whether the Soul Master would destroy these blocking trees, causing 2 or more soul beasts in the trial path come together. Therefore, some special methods were used, and the special topographical environment of the Lost Grand Canyon was used to construct such a roughly inaccessible environment. The defense of this tortoise is too amazing. Seeing that the light blade she hit on the land tortoise instantly turned into dust, Ziyu was also very emotional. The defense power of such a tortoise-type soul beast is extremely amazing, but the land tortoise in front of her it seems to magnify this point without limit. And the most frightening thing is its scope. The land falls in a wide range. After the land around it falls, Ziyu will have no way to find the weakness to defeat this tortoise. Ziyu must quickly find a solution, otherwise, she might really be trampled to death by the land turtle along with the earth. 2 moons. Holding moon blades in both hands, the 2 spirit rings flickering on his body are constantly changing. Ziyu jumped up. He thought of a pretty good way. Since you have made this ghostly appearance that you can't land on all sides, then I, Ziyu, will stand on your body and let you have a good look at the speed that a soul master of the attack system should possess strength. The tortoise is terrifying. Its thick shell seems to be able to block all foreign objects for it, and its strong limbs seem to be able to provide it with extreme speed, but it can reach what it wants in an instant quartet. Ziyu's purpose was quickly discovered by the land turtle. It turned around hastily, stepping on the ground again and again, and making rumbling vibrations. The vibrations affected the surroundings, but because of its size, it couldn't turn around in an instant, etc. A sequence of actions. And this is undoubtedly a great opportunity for Ziyu. Ziyu's speed itself is not bad, so he holds the double moon blade and inserts the moon blade directly into the turtle's shell after firmly stabilizing her figure between the gaps in the stones. Ziyu began to face the tortoise squarely, and the tortoise's huge range of attacks on its surroundings. I couldn't help but secretly said in my heart, it is undoubtedly the best way for me to choose such a dodge method in an instant. End of this chapter. Chapter 165 Customs Clearance Method. A defensive armor piled up with such thick rocks. When Ziyu personally used the moon blade in her hand to embed this layer of rocks on the land turtle's body, she couldn't help being surprised. This is really too terrifying. How did the land turtle do this? Although I can be regarded as a soul master of the assault system, my power is still too limited. It is absolutely unrealistic for me to rely on my own strength to solve this land turtle, but now one thing is certain. My speed is much faster than this tortoise. This is a good point to control. Although the speed of this tortoise is also very fast, it is only when moving forward or running. In terms of flexibility such as turning around, it is far inferior to me. Suddenly, the land tortoise began to shake its body frantically, and the not so strong rocks and soil clods piled up on the tortoise's shell rolled down in an instant. This is to throw Ziyu down. Ziyu quickly gave up her own thinking and jumped to the commanding heights of the land turtle in an instant. This place seemed to be a huge stone connected to the body of the land turtle. Ziyu stretched out her hand and inserted the moon blade fiercely into it. Suddenly, the land tortoise seemed to go crazy and started to rush forward frantically, and soon escaped from the sinking environment it had constructed, which made Ziyu very confused. Is it possible that this stone is connected to the tortoise's own perception? It seems to be the reason. If it is not connected, why is it covered with so much weak soil? This is obviously it's superfluous. Ziyu didn't wait for anything. The moon blade on the other hand was also embedded in it suddenly, and with the insertion of the moon blade, the second dark yellow soul ring on Ziyu's body also flickered. The shape of the miasma beast suddenly drilled out. Then the phantom flowed directly into the stone along the moon blade. Moon blade's second soul skill, Poison Moon. Activate. Ziyu's second soul ability comes from the Dark Moon Miasma Beast in 90 years. This Dark Moon Miasma Beast possesses toxicity, and it is extremely poisonous. Such poison can be used as a special means of connection. According to Ziyu's previous expectation, she wanted to find the head of the land turtle first, and then jump directly from above. At the same time, the first soul skill Moonblade and the second soul skill Poison Moon were released together. It can also explode with absolute power. Then the poisonous moon pierces, and at the same time, releases the special venom of the Dark Moon Evil Beast. The venom Ziyu of the Dark Moon Evil Beast has tried on some soul beasts before. He himself can only describe it as terrifying. When he tried the venom of the Dark Moon Miasma Beast himself, when he tried it on some 10-year level spirit beasts, those spirit beasts turned into a pool of venom in an instant, and even the bones were eroded clean. This is scary. And when he shot some 300-year-old soul beasts, the venom of the Dark Moon Evil Beast invaded into the bodies of those soul beasts in an instant. But in the blink of an eye, those soul beasts deserve to be corroded. Therefore, for a 100-year-old soul beast, the poison of the Dark Moon Miasma Beast will react upon contact, and once pierced into it, it will rot and die in no time. And Ziyu now seems to have discovered a special weakness of the land turtle. Although Ziyu knew that this was a land turtle, a spirit beast with extremely strong defense, and it attacked in a range, it was impossible for ordinary spirit skills to cause substantial damage to it. But Ziyu has never heard that the things on the back of the tortoise's shell are returned to these tricks, but it is precisely because of this that Ziyu can give up the dangerous idea she just had, accompanied by the influx of venom from the Dark Moon Miasma Beast. Obviously, Ziyu could see that the speed of the tortoise was gradually slowing down without the original impact speed, and the figure seemed to be slowing down on the way forward. That's weird. Boom. Ziyu's figure suddenly fell forward. This was not the land turtle's counterattack before it died, but it fell on the ground in between. The huge body directly dumped on the ground. It works wonders. Ziyu herself couldn't believe that the poison of the Dark Moon Miasma Beast was so terrifying, and the effect of her second soul skill, Poison Moon, was far beyond her imagination. Originally, she just felt that the poison of the ordinary century-old soul-only beasts can have such a miraculous effect, but now even the use of land turtles has overturned Ziyu's previous ideas. And this time it was on a high level. His second soul skill, Poison Moon, can still be effective, even if he encounters a 1000-year soul beast above the sky. Seeing this scene, Guagua suddenly said helplessly, "I seem to have forgotten that the weakness of the land turtle is on the stone on the back that connects to the source of life. Well, I thought I could see Ziyu come to a big show. Skills, even failure, I didn't expect it to be my own self-defeating in the end." For Ziyu, he doesn't seem to have thought about the purpose of the trial. Well, I have to prepare it myself. What kind of soul beast should I prepare next? Guagua thought for a while, and seemed to have an idea of his own. It doesn't seem to make any sense anymore. As Ziyu himself saw, a soul beast that has just entered the millennium level is not enough for him now. If I increase the age of the soul beast, it is obvious that I want to put Ziyu is rushing towards failure. I don't have such evil tastes. Forget it. The remaining little soul beasts try to stop him. However, Guagua also discovered that, although these trials were carefully prepared by it, this group of children can always complete the trials very quickly. Maybe they each know what kind of improvement each of them needs to get. Everyone passed very fast. It took only a while for Huorao to discover the purpose of the rotten rat, which is to continuously improve their speed, and at the same time, control the output of their soul power. This is the purpose of Huorao's way of testing. One is Zhujiangxing. He must try to abandon his thoughts about other sundries, and must achieve a state of perfect synchronization with the sword intent released by Jiansu. Only in this way can he reflect his own strength. There is also the use of the sword martial soul. These are not things that can be found out by simple fighting, but he also discovered it very quickly. End of this chapter. Chapter 166 Customs Clearance Method. Yan. For Yan himself, the trial for him seems to be very simple, but in the face of such a wave of soul beasts, a child of Yan's age may have already been paralyzed by fright, so how can he resist? Question mark. Moreover, Yan waved his fist very excitedly to fight those soul beasts, which was even more unexpected. Look at Ziyu again. For Ziyu, Quack was also unexpected. Originally, it felt that the battle between Ziyu and that tortoise would definitely be a long time, and there would be a certain chance of failure, but it absolutely did not thinking that Ziyu could find the weakness of the land tortoise so quickly, and could quickly defeat the land tortoise through the venom of the dark moon evil beast of her own soul skill. Guagua stood on the cloud, slowly watching the children who were moving forward at an extremely fast speed, and even the children who were about to reach the meeting place suddenly felt emotional. Where are the two of you, brother destroyer and sister life? When Guagua moved his gaze to the seventh and last trial path, and wanted to see how Jifei and Yi Lanshan cleared the level, suddenly, Guagua opened his mouth. Almost I can't believe that the two of them, Jifei, would pass this trial in such a way. The seventh trial path. Jifei and Yi Lanshan were sitting on a huge white tiger. The spirit beasts that were constantly charging around were frightened by the roar of the white tiger and dodged aside. It's still fast to pass through like this. Look at Lanshan. There is a special light in front. It should be the gathering place that Guagua said. This is too boring. And this is the trial? Yi Lanshan looked at Jifei who was sitting in front and controlling the white tiger and suddenly laughed and cursed. You. Who would have known that you would choose such a way to clear the level? Obviously we need the two of us to defeat the white tiger and get rid of these small souls. Beast, I didn't expect you to directly control this white tiger and then let it deal with these small spirit beasts. Hearing Yi Lanshan's words, Jifei felt rather helpless. I have no choice. Since I entered this trial path, half of the soul beasts haven't found it. It seems that I have the kind of physique that will dodge when approached by soul beasts. All of a sudden, such a huge white tiger came out. It didn't attack me. It actually lay down beside me. Jifei recalled when he and Yi Lanshan had just entered the seventh trial path. What will be the test for you to meet the two of us? Jifei and Yi Lanshan stepped into the seventh trial path, surrounded by lush trees, and there was basically no difference between the surroundings and the peaceful and quiet forest. Even if you look here, this seventh trial path is somewhat strangely quiet. Each path of trials will have different trials, but they are all related to soul beasts. If there are two of us, Guagua will definitely prepare a lot of 1000-year level soul beasts. I'm afraid there is no such simple answer. Yi Lanshan walked slowly, wearing a long light green dress that seemed to merge with the surrounding dense forest in an instant. Her every move seemed to be able to draw the life force of this world. A very special force was constantly floating, but it's all around her. Jifei looked at Yi Lanshan, who was among the three girls. Huorao has that kind of fiery feeling, and that kind of fieriness is derived from the character, and when encountering things, it is also the same style of doing things. Jifei reminded Zhu Jiangxing more than once to tell Huorao to make your wife change her personality. When you encounter something, you must think carefully, otherwise, you will definitely suffer a big loss in the future. Although Hulina looks ordinary, the blessing of having that special demon fox martial soul also gives people a strange feeling. Compared with changing in the future, she may become a woman in line with her own temperament. Only Yi Lanshan was different. Yi Lanshan seems to be able to change her personality at any time. She didn't have much to say to other people. She was usually silent, just standing beside Jifei. It seemed that, no matter what other people were talking about, she was thinking about what she wanted to think about. Treating other people is also cold, but it is different to Jifei. He is just like an ordinary girl beside Jifei. He can laugh and scold Jifei, and also pay attention to Jifei all the time. Fly. Lanshan, sometimes it really feels like a dream. The Douluo who was by my side before is actually you. The gap between the two of you is really big. Yi Lanshan turned her face to stare at Jifei. It's based on the character you like, and if it's not aloof, you'll always be suspicious, right? As Jifei walked, he recalled the first time he and Luo met. It seems that this is really the case. I awakened a system book martial soul, and then the system book martial soul was swallowed by the chaotic martial soul, so Douluo stayed by her side all the time. After returning to Wuhandian Academy, Douluo disappeared, but the real Yi Lanshan came to Jifei's side again. Actually, when you awakened your martial spirit, I should have gone looking for you myself, and taken you away later. Yi Lanshan mentioned this inadvertently. It's just that some things were delayed later, but I can only create an elf body to go to your side to help you. Then if you really went, wouldn't you fight Uncle Tang Heo? He is still very powerful, but it's a pity that he chose such a path for me. Yi Lanshan shook her head. This is different. The reason why I didn't pick you up directly was that you might not know me. After all, it's like this every time, and there are some things that can't be too interfering. Otherwise, there will be some unwarranted punishment. Of course, if Teacher Undead insisted on going, I have nothing to do. Jifei thought about Undead Douluo and Tang Heo. In your opinion, is Undead Teacher stronger than Tang Shuqiang? But as soon as he said this, Jifei felt that there was no comparison at all. After the story of Undead Douluo was narrated last night, Jifei knew it thoroughly. This is definitely among the top in the world existence, but time has worn away the legend of this Undead Douluo, and they don't seem to be called immortal, right? After all, croaking is not called immortality, but greedy. Yi Lanshan said, isn't what you think in your heart the answer? No matter in terms of martial soul or soul ring configuration, immortality has reached an unprecedented level, and let me tell you a secret. Teacher Undead was not a soul master before. He still has more powerful power than a soul master, but he has never shown it. In his words, he has to adapt to the times. Jifei was slightly surprised, but just as he was about to continue asking, a white shadow suddenly flashed in front of his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 167 Fighting the White Tiger. Is it a soul beast? Looking at a white after image that passed by at a high speed just now, Jifei made a quick judgment. At least from the figure and speed, it can be roughly judged that this is a very extraordinary soul beast. Yi Lanshan looked at Jifei. It's a white tiger. It's a white tiger. According to the aura it exudes, it seems to be a 4,000, 5,000 year old soul beast. The target is us, and it's very hostile. Oh. Is there a lot of hostility? Lanshan is really strong. You can even feel the hostility. Jifei stretched out his thumb to compare with Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan said slowly, you should think about how to deal with it. Since it regards us as prey, then we must defeat it thoroughly. Otherwise, this kind of soul beast will definitely not die. It exists endlessly, and the white tiger is very coordinated in terms of strength and speed. That's it. But it doesn't matter. By the way, remember Teacher Undead and Guagua said that, as long as you pass the trial way, you can do it? There are no restrictions, right? So I can use any method, as long as I can pass safely and quickly. Just practice the way. Yi Lanshan nodded, expressing her affirmation. It's not wrong. Master Undead and Guagua didn't mention the restrictions, that is, to use all their strengths to pass the test. Isn't that too underestimating the two of us? It's just a 1,000-year-old soul beast. Lanshan, just stand there and wait. I'll subdue this white tiger. Jifei thought for a while, and suddenly a light blue bamboo sword appeared in his hand. At the same time, one purple, one yellow, and one purple, the three soul rings complemented each other, and each soul ring exuded a palpitating power, and it was more like an uncoordinated combination attached to Jifei's body. The villain of chaos also appeared at the same time. Its figure slowly shrunk, and at the same time it fit close to Jifei's eyebrows. Its small open hand also held a green bamboo sword, and its movements looked clumsy, and the original image is completely different. Green bamboo sword, show. After adding the third soul skill, the green bamboo sword Wuhan can bring it a range of sword energy blockade. Although this sword energy blockade is not a form throwing soul skill that is released, but from the perspective of its own range, at least within a range of tens of meters, as long as there is an enemy, it can play a nearly perfect restriction. And with the improvement of Jifei's own soul power, the range covered by the sword energy still shows a geometric growth. It can only be said that after the transformation of the chaotic villain and the sword bamboo is transformed into a martial soul, even ordinary fragile creatures will it has become extremely powerful, even reaching the top form. Are you using a sword? It's actually not directly using Izanami's martial soul to simulate the environment. Yi Lanshan stopped in place, and a group of pale green soul power was slowly gathering in her hands. If Ji Fei was really in danger, she would definitely be able to release her soul skills in an instant to protect Ji Fei. It only takes a moment. Even if Ji Fei can only last for a short while. Holding the sword in his hand, the sword aura that appeared out of nowhere completely sealed off the space. The messy sword aura gathered around Ji Fei and Yi Lanshan the most. It's better to protect yourself deliberately. For Ji Fei himself, his main purpose is to protect Yi Lanshan, and his secondary purpose is how to perfectly deal with this spinning white tiger. This white tiger still seemed to be looking for Ji Fei's flaws. Maybe it couldn't find Ji Fei's flaws from the beginning to the end, and when the sword energy blockade was formed, it couldn't find an entry point. But can this stop it? Obviously absolutely impossible. Suddenly, when Ji Fei was about to rush out to catch up with the white tiger and fight with it, a white tiger's claw fell on the sword energy blockade in front of Ji Fei in an instant boom. The sword key block collided with the hard tiger claws, and metallic sparks splashed out. Ji Fei suddenly took 2 steps back. He never expected that the white tiger's strength and the hardness of its claws were so high. Moreover, the white tiger reacted very quickly and found that he couldn't break through the barrier of the sword energy with a single blow, and then disappeared in place extremely quickly. In fact, if it is the body of the white tiger, it is better to say that it is simply a tiger claw. Because apart from seeing the afterimage of the disappearing white tiger at the last moment, Ji Fei didn't find anything about the shape of the white tiger. The speed is really fast. Then don't shoot me until I catch up with you. Extremely fast changing. The green bamboo sword in his hand disappeared, but the defensive sword energy blockade did not disappear because the soul skills released by changing martial souls like Ji Fei lasted for a long time. Ji Fei, you can try to release multiple re-engraved martial souls together, maintain the form of the beast martial soul, and then use the green bamboo sword martial soul. What you want to do is to catch up with the white tiger with the cloud strike leopard martial soul, right? Question mark? But you have no speed after catching up, and I'm afraid you won't have a chance to defeat this white tiger, so I don't mind if you use the green bamboo sword martial soul while using the cloud strike leopard beast martial soul. Is it possible to do this? Use 2 spirits together? Ji Fei hesitated for a while. He never thought that spirits could be used like this. Yes, others may not be able to do it, but you can definitely do it. Your soul power can provide you with enough support, and your reenacted martial soul is not the same as the awakened martial soul. After Yi Lanshan's reminder, Ji Fei seemed to have grasped some tricks. And just like what Yi Lanshan said, if I simply use the beast spirit possessed by the cloud strike leopard, I can indeed catch up with the white tiger in terms of speed. After all, the cloud strike leopard is roughly known after Ji Fei understands it. Such a soul beast that dominates with extreme speed. This is equivalent to having both the fish and the bear's paw. When you have the ultimate speed, your attack power will also be weakened, so it is like the soul masters of the agility attack department among soul masters can only do it. Flank attacks or attacks on the opponent and some interference from control type soul masters. Other than that, there is really nothing special about it. But if it is really like what Yi Lanshan said, if the martial souls are superimposed and released, the green bamboo sword martial soul can provide Ji Fei with absolute attack power. The cons leveled and then reached a pinnacle of existence. However, if this is done, there are still a lot of disadvantages that need to be solved. That is the problem of the consumption of one's own soul power. It is normal for the consumption of soul power to support one martial soul, but if it is suddenly upgraded to 2 martial souls, it really feels a little far-fetched. End of this chapter. Chapter 168 Fighting the White Tiger. Green bamboo sword. Show me. Hit the clouded leopard. Possess it. Accompanied by Ji Fei's 2 low shouts, the surrounding soul power poured into Ji Fei's body in a form visible to the naked eye. Ji Fei himself just felt waves of scorching power from the air around him rapidly spreading along his body, and then gathered together on the manifested martial soul. Success. Ji Fei watched the changes in his body shape. His originally short body suddenly grew a lot taller, and his hands also turned into special claws similar to leopard claws, but slightly longer and slender. Although it's a bit uncomfortable, you can still hold the green bamboo sword firmly, which is considered a relatively comfortable place. Izanami's external spirit bone. Ji-Fei suddenly realized that he still had Izanami's external spirit bone that he obtained after hunting Izanami in his hands. However, Ji-Fei himself has not mastered how to use the external spirit bones and has never asked undead Douluo or Guagua how to use the external spirit bones. However, Ji-Fei could feel that if he really mastered the method of using the Izanami external spirit bone, his combat power would definitely be improved a lot. The soul power seems to be full, and Ji-Fei suddenly found that the little chaotic person between his eyebrows was also continuously absorbing the soul power in the world, and his soul power absorption point also added a chaotic little person from his whole body. The soul ring has also noticed a change. Ji-Fei looked at the soul rings floating around him, and there were 3 soul rings of the same size, 1 purple, 1 yellow, and 1 purple. The 3 soul rings that suddenly appeared are also configured with 1 purple, 1 yellow, and 1 purple. Although it looks a little bit darker than the other 3, but overall, such an existence is really it is extremely dazzling, and it is said to be dim. If you don't observe it carefully, you still can't see it. It seems that this is a soul ring obtained from a soul beast. Ji-Fei's own level is that of the 6th ring soul emperor. But from Yi Lanshan's line of sight, she was quite surprised. 6 soul rings? Covering her small mouth, Yi Lanshan was more or less inconceivable. At first, I just felt that when martial souls are stacked together, at most they can make up for some of the shortcomings of martial souls to achieve a perfect state. But in the current situation, even 2 soul rings of re-engraved martial souls appeared at the same time. So if you say this, can the superimposed martial souls also use soul rings with each other? I really can't imagine. Yi Lanshan suddenly realized that Ji-Fei's chaos martial soul was not as simple as imagined. It was even terrifying, and it was different from the superimposed martial souls she had seen before. She has seen many soul masters who can use superimposed martial souls. Without exception, they can only superimpose the characteristics of martial souls and then share a set of soul ring configurations, so they cannot release soul skills at the same time. It can complement the shortcomings of Wuhan. Feeling the surging power, Ji-Fei couldn't help getting excited. Okay. Before the soul power is completely consumed, let you, a stinky tiger, experience the superimposed martial soul and use the power of superimposed soul power. Ji-Fei held the green bamboo sword tightly, and the cool feedback brought by the green bamboo sword made Ji-Fei feel that the Wuhan he awakened was the green bamboo sword, not the chaos Wuhan, nor the crown of destruction. It was simply green bamboo sword rub. As soon as Ji-Fei lifted his foot, suddenly, as if a whirlwind was born under his feet, Ji-Fei's figure disappeared from the spot without a trace in an instant, and he was even stronger than the white tiger before. It was possible to catch the appearance of an afterimage, but when Ji-Fei disappeared in place, apart from the continuous whistling sword energy, there was only the real impact of the soul. It's so fast. Yi Lanshan barely followed the place where Ji-Fei disappeared, and his route to catch up with Beihu. And in Ji-Fei's line of sight, he could clearly see a white tiger moving very slowly in front of his eyes. Yes, it was walking very slowly, but the strange thing was this white tiger, it is off the ground, and it looks like this white tiger is flying from a distance. But in Ji-Fei's field of vision, it seems that the white tiger jumped up intermittently, drew an arc in the sky, then landed on the ground, and jumped up again. Under such extremely fast conditions, it made repeated movements intermittently, thus forming a ray state similar to being in flight. Others may be surprised, but to Ji-Fei, who caught up and even surpassed the white tiger, the behavior of the white tiger was ridiculous. What are you doing jumping around? Ji-Fei came out with the green bamboo sword. A sharp sword energy pierced through the void in an instant, and then stabbed the white tiger fiercely. It was a small test, and it was very successful. Ji-Fei just shot out a sword aura to test whether the damage from the green bamboo sword he casted with the addition of the Cloud Strike Leopard martial soul can also reach such a speed. Obviously, it's totally doable. Moreover, the power of a sword glow from this green bamboo sword is extremely terrifying. The white tiger's floating figure suddenly became sluggish, and then it seemed as if it had completely landed on the ground, unable to jump at all. Such a shape change is very strange. This white tiger can only gallop on the ground, but Jifei is able to suspend in mid-air, because in Jifei's feeling, the cloud strike leopard spirit changed his own figure. It's very light, and it feels like it can float just by simply stepping on the air, and with this floating feeling, its own speed will get feedback in an instant, achieving the effect of moving forward at extreme speed. Enough is enough. Jifei shook his head and sprinted down with a possessed body. The green bamboo sword in his hand stuck out directly, and the green bamboo sword seemed to turn into a ball of green light in an instant. Jifei's whole body turned into a white light, and then pierced through the void, directly piercing through the white tiger's arm at the spine. With the power of this sword, Jifei could only feel that the soul power in his body was exhausted in an instant, and that special impulsive force made his head dizzy. When the green bamboo sword actually landed on the white tiger's spine, the white tiger let out a painful cry, and Jifei gradually came to his senses. It was also at this time that Jifei realized that he had already succeeded. I used superimposed and engraved martial souls to get rid of the galloping white tiger. End of this chapter. Chapter 169, Fighting the White Tiger. In fact, what Jifei used couldn't be said to be a superimposition of re-engraved martial souls. In other words, Jifei didn't just use 2 martial spirits together. It should be said that he used 3 martial spirits together. After all, the villain of chaos is also a martial soul, right? But because when using the additional martial soul, the chaotic villain seemed to assign his soul ring to the reproduced martial soul, which caused Jifei to only show 6 shining soul rings. If the villain of chaos didn't have such a restriction, then the soul rings that Jifei just presented would really have as many as 9 soul rings. Although the real strength is still only 3 soul rings, but in other people's eyes, that is the real 9 soul rings. What should they do if they regard Jifei as a titled Douluo? The white tiger is not dead yet. Seeing the white tiger lying on the ground trembling all over, the first thing Jifei did was very simple. The villain of chaos summoned him and directly absorbed the white tiger spirit beast to recreate the white tiger martial spirit. The movements are smooth and flowing. The chaotic villain seems to know after so many times, and he can't eat it directly. Anyway, he needs to help Jifei recreate the martial soul before he can eat. At least in the eyes of the chaotic villain, this is eating. It's not dead yet. It seems that one blow from such a soul beast can't solve it. Jifei looked at the dying white tiger and recalled the sword he had just done. How about Lanshan? The sword I just did, if not peerless, should be peerless, right? Jifei smiled and looked at Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan said, remember, no matter whether it is peerless or peerless, it is used to describe whether a woman is good or not. Of course, you look quite like a girl. You. Jifei thought for a while. Forget it. Jifei, don't argue with girls. What about the white tiger? Just kill it? Jifei knelt down and stretched out his hand to stroke the fur of the dying white tiger. It's silky smooth, and after just touching it for a while, the palms are warm. Jifei thought about it for a while, and then said, well, it's good for keeping warm, and it's good for a mattress. But I seem to have thought of a better solution. Jifei took a look at the trial road. He didn't know what kind of danger the road ahead would look like. Some troublesome soul beasts might appear suddenly, but there might also be some very weak soul beasts blocking the way. Lanshan, if it's you, can you heal the white tiger's injury? I want it to open the way for us. Of course, it is our mount. In this way, we can avoid some little soul beasts. Maybe if you encounter a small soul beast, you will kill it directly? If this is the case, maybe there may be a big fault in the soul beast in the Lost Grand Canyon in the future. Yi Lanshan nodded, thought for a while, then stretched out her hand. It was the light green ball of light. Yes, even if it dies, it is very easy to transform it into a mount. But if you treat it if it's done, what should it do if it still wants to make a move? Isn't it a waste of money? Jifei pointed to the center of his eyebrows. I asked you a long time ago, right? There is no limit, and I have a general understanding of the effect of the crown of destruction. Under absolute coercion, this white tiger will definitely not dare to resist the slightest. Absolutely honestly be a mount. Why didn't you use it earlier? Since there are no restrictions, if you use it earlier, we don't have to bother. Yi Lanshan smiled and shook her head again. This is a question only a stupid girl would ask. You want to exercise yourself? Hahaha, Lanshan, your inner drama is indeed too rich. It's not wrong. I haven't forgotten that this is a trial, not me asking me to show some invincible posture. After this period of time, I can also think of the role of destroying the crown. Not only has the effect of invalidating soul power, but can actually tamper with a person's thoughts and even destroy and rebuild. How? Am I right? Yi Lanshan's small face was a little surprised. How do you know? Suddenly, Ji-Fei held Yi Lanshan's hand and released a special aura at the same time. This aura was a lavender light, but it contained an indescribable terror. And Yi Lanshan, who had just come into contact with this aura, suddenly looked at Ji-Fei, and for the first time, there was some emotional change in the eyes of Gujing Wubo. You. How is it? Is this breath familiar? Don't worry, I know that you have always been by my side. I will not choose to touch those memories, at least for you. Ji-Fei's face was a little dull, and it was gone for a long time. With a smile, he seemed to have touched something that he shouldn't have touched. Yi Lanshan walked to the side of the white tiger, and the light green ball of light in her hand pierced into the white tiger's injured spine. The light green ball of light on the fingertips fell on the white tiger's injured spine and faded away, and at the same time the white tiger's wound was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Very powerful life force. Ji-Fei was sure that he had never seen such amazing healing power. It was like a miraculous power to bring the dead back to life. What a magical power, Lanshan. It seems that your power is more than that. Ji-Fei squatted down and stroked the white tiger's head while a lavender breath entered it. It's okay. The white tiger's injury is not very serious. For me now, simple healing can still be done. Yi Lanshan stood up, looked at the injury that had recovered to its original state, and opened her eyes. White tiger. The overall aura of the white tiger who opened his eyes has completely changed. He didn't have the extreme sense of hostility just now, nor the initial sense of resistance, and even raised his head to rub Ji-Fei's hand, showing a very intimate look. Come back to your senses. Ji-Fei finished the memories just now, looked at the galloping white tiger, and felt Yi Lanshan's breath behind him at the same time, said a little depressed. However, why didn't we meet a little soul beast? Did Guagua prepare this 4,000-year-old white tiger for the two of us to solve it? Can I say that this is very contemptuous of us? Yi Lanshan tapped Ji-Fei's back. You think everyone has your ability. Now it's alright, because with your advanced combat power, the team trials don't know how difficult it is to solve exist. It's okay. I have everything, and I will definitely protect you. Passing through the dense forest, Ji-Fei looked at the flickering light in the distance. There seemed to be a huge creature standing there motionless. It was a very open space. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170, The Special Attached Soulbone. It seems that the two of us are the first here. It should look like this, but I'm looking forward to how many people will come here in the end. Of course I hope we can get here. After all, we are also a team. Sitting on the back of the white tiger, Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan looked at the open space around them blocked by towering trees, and the 7 passages leading to this space extended to different places. It can be seen that Guagua and Undead Douluo have spent a lot of effort in giving them trials. And when Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan rushed here just now, they thought that someone had already arrived, but unfortunately, there was no trace of other people after they stopped, and looking at the remaining trial paths, they were also blocked. A layer of very thick fog blocked it, making it impossible to see clearly, and there is no voice to prove that others are safe now. Ji-Fei wasn't too worried. He believed that for Ziyu and the others, as long as they were willing to work hard and deal with it carefully, they would definitely be able to pass the trial. This is definitely not blind arrogance, nor is it so-called trust. Simply, Ji-Fei feels that Ziyu and the others have such strength. That's it. Hopefully, the trial is not as simple as imagined. Guagua is very strict in teaching soul masters. It must design the trial path according to each person's shortcomings, so it is still very troublesome to solve it. Yes, but I also hope that they can pass through the trial safely. Oh, combining everyone's shortcomings. No one else came here yet, and G-Fei more or less opened up the chatterbox. Under normal circumstances, G-Fei more or less belonged to the half-silent type. One point is that, if you don't need to say or understand things, don't understand them. After all, if you ignore the danger, you will still waste your brain cells. The second point is the compulsory course in the field of laziness that G-Fei practiced himself. That is, all lazy must develop the word lazy to the true extreme. Of course, this laziness is not a salty fish laziness without any goals. It should be said that, while understanding the power of the lazy domain, it is appropriate to reduce the waste of one's own soul power and spirit. Both points are very important. G-Fei himself admits that he is an absolute energy conservationist. Then, Langshan, what do you mean? Guag would put such a white tiger in the trial path for the two of us? Do you feel that the strength of the two of us as a team will be difficult to get rid of even if we face a white tiger? Or rather, I feel that, if we meet this white tiger, there is a certain possibility of defeat. Yi Lanshan shook her head when she heard the words, and her pretty face froze slightly. I never knew this, but Guagua would definitely not be releasing water if he did this. It can only be said that it has its own plans. Holding the soft hair of the sitting white tiger, G-Fei also sighed that there are such gentle things in this world, and this white tiger is more or less due to the suppression of the special aura exuded by G-Fei. Become extremely docile up. He raised his head and gently rubbed G-Fei's outstretched hand. Isn't it because of you? What's the matter, brother destroyer? Hasn't he discovered a characteristic that still exists in you? The croaking figure suddenly fell from the sky. Looking at G-Fei and Yi Lanshan who were sitting on the back of the white tiger, they both sighed helplessly. Because of me? G-Fei pointed to himself, and then looked at Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan said, Quack is talking about you. Don't look at me. Quack jumped onto the top of the white tiger's head, and his figure became the size of a palm in an instant. The blue light flickered all over his body, and the pierced eyes looked like this, although he was just a simple frog eyes, but the deep sense of introversion can be really felt. Guagua explained slowly, didn't you feel that, as long as you are there, there are basically few soul beasts, unless it is the kind of existence that is really weak and cannot feel the power. Otherwise, it is absolutely impossible for those spirit beasts to approach you. Can't get close to me, a low-level soul beast. G-Fei suddenly remembered that when he took Zhu Jiangxing and Huo Rao through the so-called Devil Forest, when he took the entrance examination for Wuhandian Academy, there were soul masters who were already attacked, but they didn't attack G-Fei and the others. From this point of view, it is very abnormal. After all, the distance between the two was not very far at that time. It is quite normal for soul beasts to attack soul masters. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a kind of nature. Although Zhu Jiangxing and Huo Rao described the Devil's Forest as very dangerous, under the leadership of G-Fei, it was like a simple sightseeing tour. How is it? Do you feel that way when you think about it now? Guagua looked at G-Fei squarely, looking at G-Fei's expression from the doubt just now to the relaxation, and then to the relief now. It is more or less guessable. G-Fei can also come to such a conclusion after connecting the cause and effect of some things. Come, isn't it the physique that soul beasts don't get close to? G-Fei muttered slowly. No, it's not accurate enough to say that you have the physique that spirit beasts don't approach. It should be said that you have the physique that spirit beasts dare not approach. Guagua raised his palm and gestured. Ordinary soul beasts have the special perception of seeking advantages and avoiding disadvantages. Perhaps this is what gives soul beasts a special ability equivalent to that of soul masters. Once they think they perceive the terrifying aura, they will never set foot in the slightest. And you exude such an aura, so, except for this white tiger, the soul beasts in the 7th trial path are probably trembling there, trying hard to forget yourself what I saw just now, and the terrifying aura I felt. Quack Quack looks like a lecturer. Even if I don't go into details about the source of this ability, you probably know where you got it from. G-Fei nodded, expressing his affirmation. This thing may be an invisible breath representing a kind of resistance. Actually, you don't seem to know yourself that well yet, but it doesn't matter. In the future, you will slowly learn from the changes in yourself to know what is really special about you. By the way, there is one more thing I want to ask you for advice, before anyone else comes. By the way, the others, how is it now? You should know roughly, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 171, the special attached soul bone. Do you want to ask me something? Guagua looked at Ji-Fei with some doubts. He had been observing the clearance process of Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan just now, and he could only feel sorry for Beihu. He originally thought that such a level of soul beast should make Ji-Fei more or less it feels a little tricky, but it backfired. Not only did Ji-Fei not shy away from anything, but he combined his own strength to defeat the white tiger, and now this proud white tiger was reduced to a mount, which even Guagua himself did not expect. If you want to say that your martial soul rings are superimposed, isn't sister life similar to what you perceive? Just as you imagined, your superimposed soul ring is very strange. Ji-Fei shook his head. If it was really such a simple matter, he would not have asked like this. It is this. Ji-Fei raised his hands, and a pair of small white hands appeared in front of Guagua and Yi Lanshan. Show me what your hands do. I don't know how to read palms. Guagua said depressedly. What about palmistry, Guagua? Don't you see something special about my hands? Special? Guagua put his eyes on Ji-Fei's hands again. The proportions are very coordinated, and there is no sense of skewing. At least there is no disease. Well, after summing up, they are very normal hands. It's the external spirit bones. Ji-Fei has a pair of external spirit bones in his hands. Yi Lanshan reminded from the side. Ah. What? The external spirit bone. Oh, it's a normal thing. What's the problem? The spirit bone is pretty good, and the external spirit bone is also very good. Ji-Fei said, I want to ask you how to use this external spirit bone, and how to use it flexibly. I want to use this external spirit bone more in the future, at least in my opinion. The power possessed by this external spirit bone cannot be underestimated. Guagua said slowly, I advise you not to think so, although it is not so unusual in my eyes, but it is completely different in the eyes of other soul masters. If someone else finds out, your own strength is not strong yet, so it is a pity that this external spirit bone of yours may be deprived of it. Come on, since you have said everything, Brother Destroyer, follow my prompt to release this external spirit bone and let me take a look. Gather your soul power, use your thoughts to control your hands, and imagine your external soul bone until it grows completely. Ji-Fei started to follow the prompts of Quack with ambiguity. The first step is to inject soul power. Ji-Fei's soul power was continuously concentrated towards his hands along the meridians in all parts of his body, and the originally white palms suddenly turned red, as if they had been ignited by something. Ji-Fei felt that his bones were a little bent, and this kind of bending was like bending the bones of his fingers. Imagine having such power. Such power is naturally the external spirit bone. Ji-Fei thought about the first time he used the external spirit bone in the Star Forest. What was the appearance of the external spirit bone at that time? It seems to be something like this. What? Guagua looked at the metal-like phalanx protruding out of Ji-Fei's hands, and the front part of the phalanx became sharper as it grew. After a while, it was almost centimeters long, and there was an evil spirit from the underworld. Brother Destroyer, the source of your external spirit bone is Izanami of the Huangpan clan. This kind of breath should not be Izanaki, and Izanaki cannot become the power of other people. Ji-Fei gradually came back to his senses, and was stunned for a while looking at the sharp finger bones protruding from his palm. Did it look like this when I used it for the first time? It seems to be. It doesn't seem to be. Ji-Fei admitted that he had more or less forgotten the memory of using this external spirit bone for the first time. Even if I try hard to remember now, it seems to be of no avail. That's right, it's Izanami. When Uncle Tang and I went to the Stardow Forest to obtain my first and second soul rings, I happened to meet this Izanami, and then I imitated Izanami. Me's martial soul. I used Izanami's martial soul to make Izanami die under the illusion of my own pride. My first 1000-year soul ring was Izunomi's, and I usually used it to cover myself. The martial soul is also the Izunami martial soul. At least I feel that the Izunami martial soul can help me solve most unnecessary troubles, and it has absolute power as a control. Guagua thought for a while, and then jumped directly onto Jifei's arm. It stretched out its own palm, and stroked Jifei's Izanami outer spirit bone. As soon as he touched it, the sharp air was released in an instant. Although it didn't cut Guagua's claws, the splash of white light made Guagua more or less frightened. It's amazing. You actually have the power of Izanami, not only the strong attack power. Once you are attacked by your external spirit bone, the whole person will fall into an endless dream, without any rest, only quietly waiting for death in an endless loop of dreams. Of course there are still limitations to your strength. Judging by your current strength, it should not be a problem to deal with some sulkings. Also, it seems that your external spirit bone is a bit special. To say it is external, it is better to say that it is completely grown together with your original arm. This appearance is very special. Generally speaking, even if a person has a soul bone or an external soul bone, but because these are not his own, simply absorbing is to add a power that does not belong to him. So since it is not his own power, then it is impossible to exert this kind of power to percent. Even if it is an external spirit bone, it makes sense. The external spirit bone is more precious than ordinary spirit bones, because the external spirit bone is an external manifestation of will and power. With such an external manifestation, one can communicate with one's own soul power and double it the power of. But brother destroyer, your external spirit bone is completely different from those external spirit bones. At least among the soul masters I know who have obtained external spirit bones, all they have done is to use the external spirit bones. The soul bone is regarded as a kind of power, and you are completely the original hand bone and the attached soul bone growing together perfectly. The meaning is very simple, that is to say, if other people don't know that this external spirit bone is an external spirit bone, they will directly treat you as a strange person, because your hands can't feel it at all. To the aura that originally belonged to Izanami. End of this chapter. Chapter 170. To the special attached soul bone. Growing together completely? Are you kidding me? But why don't I feel it normally? Jifei looked at his hands. The slender fingertips had a little special metallic luster. Indeed, if he felt it carefully, it seemed that this pair of bone claws also had a real touch feeling. At this moment, Jifei raised his hands and carefully felt the words around him. Jifei seemed to feel clusters of weak winds crowding towards him, and every bit of wind touched his hand intimately. It's normal, you don't have a reason to use it, and your thinking consciousness will independently judge that. If this external spirit bone is used under normal circumstances, it will cause a lot of trouble. Guak thought about it. Perhaps you don't know the power of this type of external spirit bone, right? Let me think about the people who can achieve the perfect growth of external spirit bones. There seemed to be a few of them before, but their external spirit bones, the origin of the spirit bone is very special. Remember the Dragon Slayer Soul Master I mentioned earlier? Jifei nodded. He also remembered this Dragon Slayer Soul Master very clearly. That power was very powerful, and according to Guagua, this Dragon Slayer Soul Master possessed the soul ring donated by the last Dragon Clan. I'm afraid that with the blessing of the Dragon Spirit Ring, even a 10-year Spirit Ring would seem relatively inconspicuous, right? How should I put it? Among the previous Dragon Slayer Soul Masters, there were existences that could attach dragon wings. Attaching dragon wings as external soul bones to one's body can help oneself quickly control flight, and at the same time, it can also obtain dragon wings. The power that you will have, elemental control, single elemental control, dragon wing. That's right, it's the dragon wings, but it's a pity to say that external soul bones like dragon wings can only be attached to those who have obtained the blessing of the soul ring dedicated by the Dragon Clan. A few dragon wing soul bones like this, but it seems that there are no Dragon Slayer Soul Masters now. Guagua thought for a while, and continued, what I want to tell you is this. When a soul master has an external soul bone, and can achieve perfect fusion, he can get the protection of a special power. There is no accuracy in terms of what kind of shelter it is, and you can only come to a conclusion if you explore it slowly in the future. But it's very good. Originally, I just thought that it was simply an external spirit bone, but I didn't expect it to fuse with you to such an extent. Fei himself didn't think that his external spirit bone was different from other external spirit bones, and it was really a special kind after hearing Guagua. By the way, is it possible for a soul master to fly after reaching a certain level? Just like the immortal teacher. Guagua said, that's not the case. Ordinarily, at the level of title Douluo, you may not be able to fly. It varies from person to person. Some soul masters can do it with flying spirits, while others can fly in front of them to maintain it for a period of time. Of course, this is purely flying with soul power, and most soul masters rely on soul power to reduce their own weight to do this. Fei looked like this before. It turns out that not all soul masters can fly, and they need to reach a very high level to do this. If it's you, it's easy. Yi Lanshan suddenly spoke, and she looked at Fei. Using your second martial spirit can suppress the surrounding world, so that you can control the air around you, and use them as your petals, to stand in the air. It is also very simple to fly again. Of course, you can do it now, and it will not consume your own soul power, and some changes will occur after your strength improves in the future. Is it so miraculous? Fei never expected that his second martial soul would have so many strange features. This is completely a flying method that does not consume soul power. Quack, I'm more concerned about what the next trial will be. Yi Lanshan looked at Quack, who was standing on Fei's arm. Those serious eyes can't help but make Guagua shrink back. Don't you want to play for real? If Sister Life also made a move, wouldn't the absolute offense and defense I had prepared be of no use at all? Before he ran 2 or 3 steps, his vitality was completely lost, and he was so dead that he couldn't die anymore. Also, how are Ziyu and the others doing? After Fei finished asking his own question, he naturally asked the second question again. This is that. Guagua said, as for Ziyu and the others, the customs clearance is still smooth. I have formulated trials for each of them according to the areas that each of them needs to improve. The trials are difficult. Some are fighting, some are about comprehension, and some are the nightmare that must be escaped, and some can be passed only by establishing a correct direction. But don't underestimate such a direction. This will be the ultimate goal of a soul master in this life. Target? Fei was taken aback, but judging from the croaking tone, although this trial was more or less difficult or even cruel for everyone, no one would be eliminated in the end. As for the next trial, there are a few words that I can tell you first, but what kind of trial it will be can only be said after everyone else has come here. After all, I have said it before. If someone really fails, then the team trial for the few of you will end immediately. Having said that, Fei might still be worried at first, but seeing that Guagua looked confident, most of the others could also pass smoothly. Then what are the words? Absolute offense and defense. Just these 4 words. Think about it, and this is where your team will be tested. Guagua pointed around. This space is indeed very large. It should be said that it can accommodate many soul beasts. The trials that Fei can imagine in such an environment are roughly fighting with soul beasts, right? At least there are still trials to come. Guagua can't just let the 7 of them die here, right? That's not necessarily true. No one knows exactly how Quack came up with the idea, at least judging from the formulated trials. If it is suitable for team trials, then it must be a battle, and only in the battle can each one be honed. Human cooperation ability, of course. The essence of this trial may be to hone the cooperation between the 7 of them. Fighting soul beasts. If it's really like this, what does it mean to be absolutely offensive and defensive? End of this chapter. Chapter 173, Absolute Attack and Defense. Sure enough, I didn't guess wrong. The first ones to arrive here are definitely the 2 of you. The 6th brother is not bad. In the 3rd trial path, Hulina walked out slowly, while staring at Fei, Yi Lanshan and Quack, who were talking. She sighed herself, as if she was very powerless. It seems that she also went through a long period of inner struggle before she managed to get over the hurdle in her heart, right? After all, looking back at such a thing, even an adult might not be able to bear it, let alone Hulina is just a child. Of course, definitely not children. 3rd sister was joking. Of course, the two of us cooperated with each other and passed faster. This is all thanks to the help of several brothers and sisters. Fei also reacted quickly. Although he didn't want to talk much, he pursued energy conservation, and it's good to talk less in the laziness field. Just use your brain to think more. Fortunately, if Fei chats with Yi Lanshan himself, he can chat without opening his mouth. This is very convenient, and completely in line with Fei's energy saving philosophy. Lanshan, the sixth brother didn't do anything strange to you, right? You are still so young. If he did something, tell my sister, and my sister will call my brother and a few people, to help you educate this brat. Hulina held Yi Lanshan's hand, and reminded her very carefully. Don't you just want me now? Fei stroked the white tiger's delicate fur, and said at the same time. Hey, who is this white tiger? I feel that the aura emanating from it is so strong. It must be a very powerful soul beast, right? Could it be the 7-person team trial prepared by Mr. Guagua for us? Hulina looked at the white tiger that Fei was caressing, and expressed her judgment. But as soon as she said it, she felt something was wrong. This white tiger spirit beast seems to be a little bit abnormal. At least among the spirit beasts she saw, there was no such fearful expression like this. Looking at it one-sidedly, this white tiger is really afraid of Fei who is stroking it now. Hulina naturally knew Fei's strength, the existence of the 3-ring soul master, and the soul power level was around 35, but the strength of this white tiger should not be much different from him, right? Even if the difference is not much, it is impossible to act so frightened, right? What are you thinking? This is the soul beast tamed by Sister Life and Brother Destruction. Alas, the 4,000-year-old white tiger I prepared with good intentions was put into the 7th trial path. I originally wanted to see Sister Life and Destruction Brother and 2 people work together to get rid of this 4,000-year-old white tiger, but I never thought that Brother Destroyed would defeat the white tiger by himself, and even took it as a means of transportation. Huh? Hulina opened her mouth in disbelief. A person? Defeat the 4,000-year-old white tiger spirit beast? And also use such a spirit beast as a means of transportation? Isn't it? When did the 6th brother become so powerful? Doesn't that mean that, even if he bullied the 7th sister and the rest of us, can't help 7th sister? Fei was completely defeated by Hulina's thinking logic. Could Fei not know Yi Lanshan's method? Just the previous Douluo made Fei miserable, not to mention the current Yi Lanshan. Unless Fei is looking for stimulation by himself, otherwise, he will never do anything that cannot be touched. Forget it, I won't be this pervert anymore. How about it, Teacher Gua? Are you satisfied with my trial process? Hulina asked Quack in a tentative tone, whether she had completed the trial this time, whether achieved the expected purpose. Quack said, then do you feel satisfied with yourself? Also, have you found the essence of the trial prepared for you? Fei didn't want to think about what kind of trial Hulina went through, but since it was specially prepared by Guagua, it might not be an easy trial, and the dangers encountered might not be as much as encountering a 1,000-year-old soul beast. Or maybe Hulina is also in the trial of fighting spirit beasts. Hulina smiled. There seemed to be a trace of tears on her cheek, but it had been wiped away, so that she couldn't see clearly. I'm quite satisfied. As for the purpose of the trial, I also know it clearly. Thank you, Teacher Guagua, for your kindness. If I didn't really realize myself this time, maybe I won't be able to escape that fate in my life. A fate that can't be escaped for the rest of your life. Do you really know yourself? Fei always felt that these words were weird, but it could be seen that Hulina didn't seem to be improving her own strength this time. It should be a goal, a correct cultivation route. Take Fei for example. Fei's goal is fairly simple: to live simply, to protect Yi Lanshan, or to be a carefree tourist, to travel the whole continent, and to take Yi Lanshan to see Douluo, the different scenery of the mainland. Very simple, very beautiful, very poetic ideal, right? Ah. Guagua nodded. Yes, you spoke very well. I'm quite satisfied with your trial this time, but your speed slowed down significantly later on. Although it is your painful past, you still have obvious problems. Nostalgia. This is not a good thing. Let's forget about it slowly in the future. What you need to remember is the goal you just established. Hulina nodded heavily. I understand. I will definitely stick to my own goal and then truly implement my path of soul master cultivation. Why haven't the others come yet? Is this speed a bit slow? Are you in any danger? Fei looked at the trial roads, but there was still no movement. It was obvious that the rest of them were still in the trial or were struggling to pass the trial roads. Suddenly, a howling flame streaked across the sky, and at the same time, a gorgeous dark red flame fell fiercely to the ground. It came out of the first trial path. It's Huo Rao. The brilliant soul ring gradually disappeared, and Huo Rao's figure landed steadily not far from Fei and the others. She was holding a palm-sized mouse in her hand, and that mouse was still writhing. She moved her body and wanted to break free from Huo Rao's grip, but Huo Rao seemed to be grasping very hard. Mouse. Fei looked at Huo Rao in disbelief. Huo Rao didn't feel the slightest fear while holding the mouse in her hand, as if she was holding an ordinary little pet in her hand. It's a rotting rat, not bad. I thought you would kill it, but you caught it. It seems that your trial has been completed perfectly. Quack stared at Huo Rao's hand. The mouse that kept writhing its body said in a slightly surprised tone. End of this chapter. Chapter 174 Absolute Attack and Defense. In Fei's eyes, the scene in front of him still looked a bit inconsistent. Huo Rao was holding a palm-sized mouse in his hand. The mouse was still writhing, and it seemed very resistant when Huo Rao grabbed it. It seems that Huo Rao doesn't have much deterrent power, at least when facing soul beasts. Even the ones she defeats don't have much deterrent power. Before I was going to deal with this rotten rat directly, but after thinking about it, it would be good to let it exercise my speed in the future. The speed of this rotten rat is really fast. If it is not for controlling the consumption of its own soul power, it's really impossible to catch up with this rotten rat. Huo Rao shook her head helplessly. It is not a big problem for her to catch up with this rotten mouse, but her soul power consumption is still too high. She must continue to practice to reduce the impact on her soul power. It can only be consumed, otherwise it is really impossible to complete the trial. Originally, Huo Rao might feel that the trial was nothing more than a trial, but only after she passed it did she fully understand that this trial is not so simple, and it needs to achieve a long-term goal to be able to completely accomplish this goal. Well, the speed of the rotting rat is indeed very fast and flexible. If you can think of this, it will be of great help to your future training in the agility department. Here, this is the soul beast bag. You can just put the rotten rat in it. This soul beast bag can store soul beasts. Maybe you still want to walk around with this mouse to complete the trial? Huo Rao took the soul beast bag. It looked like an ordinary bag. Would it really not suffocate the rotten rat in it? Well, since it was given by Teacher Guagua, there should be no big problem. Sword Star and the others haven't come out yet? After Huo Rao finished all this, she noticed that there were only 4 people including herself, and Zhu Jiangxing had not arrived here either. It should be soon. Guagua said casually. Hiss. Just as the voice of Guagua fell, in the second trial path, a resolute figure walked slowly to the exit. Not broken, otherwise it would be naked. It was Zhu Jiangxing. Zhu Jiangxing's pace was slightly slow, but it wasn't the kind of slowing down due to being hurt, but because he seemed to be thinking about something with his head down, so the speed slowed down. But looking at the bloodstains on his body and the bloodstains on his cheeks, it can be seen that the trials he has gone through seem to be not simple. At least from Fei to Hulina to Huo Rao, there were no obvious injuries on their bodies, but Zhu Jiangxing was different. Sword Star. Huo Rao hurriedly ran over, just about to stretch out her hand, but looked at the bloodstains all over Zhu Jiangxing's body, stretched out her hand again, and at the same time, took out a clean cloth to wipe the bloodstains on Zhu Jiangxing's face. Zhu Jiangxing grinned and responded from the moment of contemplation just now. Looking at Huo Rao, who didn't know when to come over, he was more or less confused. Then he looked around again, as well as Fei and the others who were standing not far away, and said something abruptly. Huh? I've actually walked out? What? Why is it that he is in a daze just like his current state? Guagua stood on Fei's shoulder and began to explain. What I prepared for Jiangxing boy was the sword bamboo trial. The sword energy released by the sword bamboo is a very important process for honing his own sword intent. Of course, Although the process may be a bit painful, you have more or less experienced the real effect now, right? Sword Star? Zhu Jiangxing nodded. As soon as he spoke, the scars accumulated on his face caused him great pain. That's right. When I thought I was about to fail, I could try my best to imagine the sword intent. It belongs to my own sword intent, and I myself seem to have fallen into a very delicate state from then to now, as if I can't feel pain. Looking at the sword marks all over his body, Zhu Jiangxing tried his best to recall, except that he was scratched when he just entered the sword bamboo forest. He really couldn't remember the rest. He was chasing a sword light until the sword light suddenly sank into his body, and then he felt the pain of Hu Orao's scratch, so he woke up. Really? Is the heart of the sword transparent? It's interesting. Guagua said to himself. The rest of the people might not have heard clearly, but Fei could hear it very clearly. Jiangxin is transparent. Maybe this is a realm. It represents a realm of cultivation. A state that can be praised as interesting by Guagua is not interesting, but completely powerful. And judging from Guagua's current state, this Jiangxin Tangming is definitely not easy. Lan Shan, give Giant Crossing some healing. We will have a team trial in a while. If Giant Crossing continues to behave like this, it may be a bit troublesome to fight for a while. Fei is aware of Yi Lanshan's special power. With that strong healing power, even if your leg bone is broken, it's probably not a problem for Yi Lanshan's men. You don't need to cultivate anything at all. Yi Lanshan nodded, but didn't say much. She just stood there. A light green leaf appeared in her palm at some point. Then with a simple throw, the light green leaves slowly sank into Zhu Jiangxing's body, as if they possessed their own wisdom. At the same time, the scars on Zhu Jiangxing's body began to heal crazily at a speed visible to the naked eye. The original bloodstains also turned into floating and sinking and disappeared, and the healed scars did not even leave a scar. It's amazing. Is this also one of Seventh Sister's soul skills? Hulina stared at the changes on Zhu Jiangxing's body in amazement. It would take a long time for the scars to heal, if they were allowed to heal, but in Yi Lanshan's hands, it was like smoothing a rolled up grain of sand. It was so simple. To the point of astonishment. It's just the characteristics of Wuhan. You don't need to use soul skills to recover from such injuries. Although you were injured by a special sword intent, it can't reach a very serious level. Yi Lanshan frowned, but there seems to be a sword glow in the body, which is not hostile, but it can't be erased. But it doesn't seem to have any hostility. Is it just staying in the body? It doesn't seem to be that simple. Don't get rid of it. It's easy if you want to. End of this chapter. Chapter 175 Absolute Attack and Defense. No need, that's not an injury, but a kind of comprehension, but it shows Jiangxin's enlightened comprehension. If it disappears, it's not good. If you let it stay in the body, if Zhu Jiangxing uses Wuhan in the future, the sword intent will be sharper, and the attack power will be much stronger. Yi Lanshan nodded. Although she could sense the existence of that sword light, she didn't know its specific function, or whether it was harmful. At least there is no immediate threat. Bang. Ah. The flames all over my body seem to be completely released. Finally out. Two different voices sounded together. It was Yan and Ziyu who walked out of their respective trials. Both of them seem to be in a good state of mind, but Yan is more or less tired, and Yan's body is still stained with a lot of blood that does not belong to him. It is the blood of soul beasts. It seems that he has also experienced a big battle just got here. Compared with Yan's tiredness, Ziyu's whole body is not well. He glanced at Fei and the others, and finally fixed his gaze on the quack on Fei's shoulder. Mr. Gu, don't we need to play like this? Why are there 2,000-year-old soul beasts in my trial path? Although my strength has improved rapidly recently, I'm not mentally prepared for you to play like this. Originally, I already felt that I was about to pass the trial and speed up the use of soul power to go on the road, and suddenly I was directly knocked into the air by a soul beast. Covering her chest, Ziyu still showed a feeling of pain and ki deficiency. If I hadn't blessed my soul power for the journey, you might need to go to the 5th trial road to find my corpse now gone. Guagua said, no, you can't blame me, and I didn't tell you that there is only one soul beast that can fight in your trial path, right? If you don't believe me, ask Yan. Yan tightly clenched his fists and at the same time said excitedly, of course, there are large groups of soul beasts piled up in my trial path, flying horizontally under my destructive flaming fists. The soul beasts have all turned into soul rings. The feeling of hitting a large area is much more comfortable than simply fighting alone. You see, I'm not wrong, right? There are a large group of soul beasts in Yan's trial path, and you only have 2. It's very good for you, right? Ziyu looked at Yan with disbelief. Yan, how old are your soul beasts? There are more than 10 years and 100 years. Hey, it seems that there are no 1,000-year-old soul beasts. No wonder I played so smoothly and almost consumed all my own soul power, but I haven't felt like this for a long time. Ziyu didn't speak, he just wondered if he was being tricked. Ahem, cough, what are you? Look at my efficiency in destroying my brother, and just take the 4,000-year-old soul beast as a means of transportation. How about it? Ziyu replied slowly, I don't compare him to a pervert. Fei, brother Ziyu, can we not use the word pervert to describe me? I feel a little awkward. If you say genius, I'm just a genius. Is a genius as powerful as a pervert? I don't think so. Yes, we are geniuses, but you are a pervert. Hulina made a fatal assist from the side. Ah, well, it seems that I have no reason to refute anything. Okay, now the 7 of you have passed your respective trials. Guagua looked at the children with different mental states, thought for a while, and said, before you enter the real team trial, you still need to complete an absolute offensive and defensive battle. Of course, the 7 of you, the beginning of teamwork is also the last battle of the day, after which you can rest and adjust here. In this absolute offensive and defensive battle, you are free to use any soul skills and anything, as long as they can complete the battle. Of course, don't use anything that is too perverted. When Guagua said this, his eyes naturally fell on Fei and Lanshan. If Guagua was given a human face, the expression might be so colorful. Fei really wanted to refute, at least help Lanshan to refute, but it didn't seem that simple. Reasonable things take a lot of talking. Okay, no kidding. Quack's tone suddenly shook. The feeling of deterrence made people involuntarily restrain their smiles and make their expressions solemn. To put it bluntly, you need to defeat a 1,000-year-old soul beast for absolute attack and defense, and this soul beast has absolute attack and defense. Absolute attack and defense means that it has absolute attack power and even kills with one blow. Absolute defense, what it means is that ordinary soul skills are not very effective against it. What would such a soul beast be in your consciousness? Rhinoceros? Fei thought about it for a while, and it seems that this answer is the most correct. The rhinoceros has rough skin and thick flesh, and also has a very strong attack power. According to Guagua's absolute attack and defense, this is completely in line. But Guagua shook his head. Although the rhino can occupy one of them, although it is powerful, its defense cannot keep up. Xuanwu? Lanshan took the initiative to answer Quack's question for the first time, but she gave such an answer that everyone present was at a loss. What is Xuanwu? Guagua suppressed laughter. Sister life, let's not joke. No kidding. How can Xuanwu still exist? And even if it exists, it can only be regarded as absolute defense, not offensive and defensive. What's that? Come on, we don't like guessing. Lanshan seemed to be more or less unhappy because of a wrong guess and started asking Guag. Guagua gestured with his 2 palms to make a movement similar to a large pliers. Crab. Fei looked at Guagua's weird movement with a strange expression. The way he raised his hands was indeed like a pair of pincers, but Guagua seemed to be unable to walk sideways, otherwise it might have fallen directly from Fei's shoulders. Walked up and down sideways. What? Crab. Absolute offense and defense? Is this hook hooked? It's impossible to hang hooks, right? Aren't crabs eaten? Although there are shells and pincers, they are all very weak. Okay, I can penetrate them with chopsticks. Quack snorted. Don't compare crabs that are hundreds of days old with crabs that are at the 1,000-year level. Have you heard of water and fire crabs? How about 6,000-year-old water and fire crabs? After 5,000 years, it is an absolute qualitative change, and you have to fight against water and fire crabs. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.